Would my mother ever consider sending me to a public school growing up? No, baby, such blasphemy. Do not let my mother hear you say that. As many of you know, my mother immigrated from the Philippines to give herself a better life, and therefore she had the very immigrant perspective of wanting to give her kids a better life, obviously. Most Filipinos grow up Catholic. I would say like 99%. And when my mom immigrated, she was taken to church by one of her lovely nurse friends, and she became a born-again Christian and started drinking that conservative Bible Belt juice. And because of that, she wanted my brother to go to a Christian school starting from the beginning. So my brother's 8 years older than me, and she started him off at a preschool and then at the private Christian school that we both ended up at, from K to 12th grade. To her, private school meant safety, stability, and a guaranteed relationship with the Lord, because she did not trust these hoes out here and tempt her children. And because my dad was not paying attention to her and was just an all-around not great husband, she fully immersed herself into the church and therefore wanted to protect her kids by fully immersing us in that as well. I was born, and my mother sent me to the private Christian school so that your girl could get the vacation Bible school experience, the indoctrination, the shame, but what she felt was opportunity and safety, and what she felt was doing the right thing for her kids. I went to the school pretty much just not really minding because I was young and I hadn't really gotten to make any decisions on my own at that point. I didn't really know any better. I was fully indoctrinated. I definitely did not fully believe everything. I was just kind of following suit because I was popular, I had a lot of friends, and I was young, you know? Then we all have that bad boy that gives us a taste of the good life. I started dating this boy, let's call him Tristan, because that's a sexy boy name. So one day I am in my neighborhood walking around after school, and I see this guy getting into a really nice BMW. It's got blue lights on the bottom that glow, and the doors have blue lights as well. And I was like, damn, daddy, okay. And he sees me and he's like, hey, private school girly, because I was in my uniform. And I was like, hi. And we start chatting, and he's like, yeah, well, I heard that all private school girls are good girls. Is that true? I'm like, maybe you'll find out. Turns out Tristan went to a very good public school in the area. He lived in the super rich area. He's like, oh yeah, you like this car? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want to take a spin for it? I'm like, okay. You just have to drop me off at home because I'm supposed to be back from my walk in like 30 minutes. He's like, all right, bet. So we get in the car, driving around. He is like going fast and furious, and I am just like this little passenger princess living for the thrill. At some point, I look in the back seat and I see a baby carrier in the back. And I'm like, are you a teen dad or something? And he's like, oh no, I have a little brother. He's like, hang on, I want to go to my house really quick. So we're driving, and he goes across the way to the rich area of my neighborhood. And he pulls up to this really nice house. He parks the car in the front. There was like a little circular driveway. And he's like, oh, this is my house. You want to get like a juice and a snack? Like, I'll have our housekeeper fix us something. Now this boy was fine. So I was like, yes, daddy. The house is gorgeous. What I can remember, it was giving very like Versace Venetian vibes. He greets his housekeeper. The woman makes us like a fucking charcuterie board, you know what I'm saying? We go into his game room, we're like hanging out. And I'm like, where are your parents? And he's like, oh, they don't live here. What do you mean they don't live here? He's like, yeah, my parents live abroad in Europe. We have a house in Italy, and that's where they live. And I'm like, wait, how old are you? And he's like, 16. I'm like, wait, you live in this fucking mansion by yourself? And he's like, not by myself. Giselle lives here too, his housekeeper. And I'm like, okay, sure. I'm like, well, when do they come back? And he's like, I don't know, usually Christmas. I'm like, oh my God, this boy is so grown. What about your baby brother or whatever? Because, you know, the baby seat. He's like, oh yeah, I'm an only child. Whose baby is that? He's like, I'm guessing the car owner's. Are you not the car owner? As soon as I say that, Giselle runs in and she's like, Tristan, whose car is out front? And he's like, my friend's. And she's like, Tristan. And he's like, okay. He's like, don't worry, I'm gonna return it. And she's like, you better, like, I don't want to have to tell your parents. And he's like, I won't, blah, 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 blah. What is going on here? Turns out my sweet bad boy Tristan, he loved to recreationally borrow cars that weren't his, take them on a joyride, and then return them either to the spot he found them or some random place. And with no one supervising him, well, what's Jezebel gonna do? You know what I'm saying? I thought this was incredibly hot. As a 14-year-old. I was like, wow, this guy is so grown and badass. I'm like, he's such a bad boy. And I start hanging out. Yes, I would occasionally be the passenger princess on his little joyrides. Again, kids, if you follow me, Do not do as I do, and do not do as the people that I hung out with do, okay? These are all just cautionary tales. Tristan was a very sweet boy. After school, he would come pick me up in some ride. My mom would think that I was going with my friends to their house. He would pick me up. He would take me to go get Sonic or whatever. We'd go hang out. Then he would drop me off at my friend's, and then I would meet my mom. I am like fully convinced that I love this boy. He was very romantic, you guys. Now I know that he could have been a future felon, but he was very sweet. He would spoil me and bring me little gifts and flowers, giving Johnny Depp and Crybaby vibes, like the bad boy with a heart of gold. At some point, Tristan is like, we need to be together next year. You need to go to my high school that I'm going to convince your mom. I'm like, absolutely. That's gonna work out well. My super married to Jesus Christian mother is gonna let me go to school with my rich, commits crimes just for the hell of it boyfriend. That sounds like a great idea. So I was trying to figure out how to work my mom. I was telling her that I was tired of being middle class and that I didn't like that we didn't have extra money all the time, and that if I could go to a public school, then we would have more money and be a lot better. And she was like, fat chance, little girl. At some point, my mom and I get into a huge fight over some money thing. Like she wouldn't buy me something and then I had Tristan buy it for me. Pretty sure it was like Delia's, or if you're a millennial, you remember Delia's. I think I wanted one of those like inflatable Delia's chairs. I still want one of those. So he bought it for me, and she came in my room and was like, where did you get this? I was like, oh, my friend's parents. And she's like, well, you can't just like keep letting them buy you things. I'm like, well, you're not gonna buy me anything because you're not making enough money to buy me anything because you won't let me go to a public school and all of our money goes to this private school that I don't even wanna go to. And she was like, oh my God, this rebellious girl. And as you know, Filipino moms, like she took out the chancla and she was gonna beat my little ass. She was very displeased with me. I basically told her that if she wasn't gonna let me go to public school, that I was gonna run away and live with Tristan and go to his school. And she was like, oh yeah, you're just gonna live with Tristan? I was like, yep, I'm living with this man. His parents aren't here. At some point, my mother finds out that I have not been at my friend's house like she thought, and that I have been out joyriding with my criminal boyfriend. She finds out from my friend's mom that I had not been there that day. I think it was like every Wednesdays or something that I would go and hang out with him when I was supposed to be at my friend's house. My friend's mom gets it out of my friend where I've been. My mother gets Tristan's parents' phone number somehow. I don't know if it was through the yellow pages or she found out his name or my friend ratted me out. Something happened. She calls his house. I wasn't there. She speaks to Giselle. Giselle is a real one because Giselle suddenly forgot English when she was talking to my mom. And my mom is at home waiting for me early as I'm getting dropped off at home by Tristan. I walk in, the woman is fuming, and she looked me in the eyes and she said, I don't care if you have to eat rice and beans the rest of your school career. You are going to stay in that private school and you are not going to public school, Missy. I truly thought that my life was over. I wasn't allowed to see Tristan anymore. And that was the end of our love affair. Now, do I agree with my methods? No. Do I agree that my mother was wrong? Not necessarily. I believe that I could have gotten an incredibly good education at that public school as well. Some would argue to say a better education because I would have at least learned about science in a more inclusive way, and I wouldn't have just been taught one way. But I don't fault my mom for the decisions that she made because she was a mother during a very difficult time, going through a very difficult marriage, and she believes what she believes, you know? So she believed that she was doing her best by me, and it's taken me, I would say, a regrettable amount of years to realize the type of sacrifices that she made in order to give us the best life that she believed. Now, I am personally not going to have kids, but if I did, would I send them to a private Christian school? I would not, because I am not religious, I am not Christian, and I believe that everyone should have their own choice in how they want to live their life and what belief system they want to follow. I believe public schools give you the opportunity to be subjected to a lot more cultures, different types of people and beliefs. Do I have regrets about my experience? I don't regret anything in my life, and my experiences made me the person who I am today. So I am very happy for all the experiences that I had. Now, where is old Tristan, you might be wondering? My sophomore year, I found out through a mutual friend that he had got sent to a boarding school in Sweden by his parents, which was probably the best thing for him. One of the best gifts I ever received for Valentine's Day, and it was when I was in 7th grade. In 7th grade, I had a boyfriend, let's call him Brody, and Brody was extremely blonde, extremely sweet, most gorgeous hazel eyes, and his family was rich. They were old money. His grandfather was an oil tycoon in Bethesda. Brody's dad ran all the companies now, and his mom was a former beauty queen who stayed at home, collected vintage jewelry. As a hobby, she would make these floral basket arrangements for her friends, because obviously when you're rich and you have nothing to do, what better way to spend your time other than just making random gift baskets for all your friends? Brody and I started dating in the winter right before winter break, and I was already going on winter break, obviously staying home with my family, and then I was also going to Aspen with my other friend's family just to go snowboarding. And Brody's family had a house in Mexico near the Sea of Cortez. They would go every winter break, and he invited me to go along with his family, but obviously I already had plans and I couldn't go. Brody was on the soccer team. He was absolutely gorgeous, such a sweetheart, but very religious. I'm telling you, on our first kiss, he like felt guilty about it because he was like, is this okay? I'm like, it's a kiss, calm down, sir. At the church that he attended, his pastor taught them that holding hands was a sin because that led to snuggling, which led to kissing, which led to foreplay, which led to sex. He was very careful about any sort of PDA touching or anything. He was a perfect gentleman, but I was like, boy, you better kiss me because what are we doing here? So winter break ends, he comes back, we resume our love affair, and he just loved to write me these little notes and poems. He was just such a little Tumblr dashboards confessional boy. Valentine's Day is coming around, and he's like telling me, I can't wait to celebrate you on Valentine's. I'm gonna treat you like a princess. And I'm like, okay, boy, let's see what we gotta do. So Valentine's Day was obviously a really big deal at that age because you're giving little Valentines to not just your boyfriend or girlfriend, but you're also giving it to your friends. So it was a whole big gesture thing, even in middle school. The week of Valentine's, like the days leading up to it, that boy put huge bouquets of roses and flowers in my locker every single day leading up to Valentine's Day, which actually fell on a weekend, I think, that year. The day of actual Valentine's Day comes around. Brody is like, okay, be ready by this time, and then I will be coming to pick you up, and then I'll be taking you somewhere. I'm like, where are we going? He's like, it's a surprise. The time rolls around that he's picking me up, and he comes to the door. I open the door. He's there with another huge ass bouquet of flowers, and behind him is a limo. We get in the limo. We're driving. I'm like, where are we going? And he's like, you'll see. We head nearby, and we stop at his house. I'm like, oh, did you forget something? He's like, no, this is where we're going. I'm like, wait, you got a limo to take me to your house? Like, what's going on here? He's like, you'll see. So we walk in his house, his mom greets us, and he covers my eyes, and we walk through the foyer, and he had one of those head to toe huge glass walls that opened up into the backyard from the foyer. He takes his hands off, and I look, and the whole glass is open, and in the backyard, there's roses everywhere, candles, there's a big table in the middle with food, there's a waiter standing by, and there's a big ass movie screen set up in the backyard. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cute. This is so romantic. So we sit down and the waiter serves us food. I'm pretty sure it was like steak or something, sparkling, non-alcoholic wine. We're having a great time. It's super romantic. My little 7th grade heart feels like I'm going to marry this boy and be with him till the end of time. It is giving Hilary Duff in Cinderella story vibes, and this is my little Chad Michael Murray. So we finish eating, they bring out dessert. The dessert is a cake with a photo of the two of us from the first photo that we had together, like print screen on the cake. It was very cute. After the cake, he's like, are you ready for a gift? I'm like, hell yeah, I bet your little bottom I am. So he looks back at his housekeeper. She starts playing the big movie screen. And on the movie screen is a home video of him and his family in Mexico from winter break. And he had told me that they had rented a boat and gone around and done some diving and stuff. He pulls out this wrapped box while this home movie is playing in the background. I open it up. As I'm opening it up, in the background on the movie, Brody diving into the water with some professional divers with his family, and he's coming up and he's showing his family what he's getting. And as I'm opening the box up, on the movie screen, it is going through how Brody dove and got all these freshwater pearls in the Sea of Cortez. In the box, there is a set of 3 gorgeous pearl bracelets. And I'm like, oh my God, so pretty. And he's like, yeah, I actually dove for these. The movie behind you is me diving for these pearls. The movie proceeds to play of him going with his mom to a jeweler, him talking to the jeweler. The jeweler is configuring pearls into the beautiful pearl string bracelets. So this boy in Mexico They rented out a private boat, rented out a bunch of divers, and he went diving for these pearls for me to make them for my Valentine's Day gift. Now, I know what you're thinking, Kat, do you still have the pearls? I have looked long and hard every time I've gone home to Texas over the years for these damn bracelets, and I, for the life of me, don't know what happened to them. As far as Brody and I go, I was young. It was during that time and age where you were just kind of falling in love very quickly and falling out of love very quickly. And I ended up developing a really big crush on his best friend. After that, we broke up maybe like, I don't know if it was like a few weeks or a month or something after that. And then I started dating his friend. But don't worry, that sweet boy gets a happy ending. He ended up dating another girl that we went to high school with. They actually ended up getting married, and they have 4 beautiful children, and they're very happy. The funniest part is that because the school is so rich and they viewed things a certain way, I remember I had some friends that were like, ew, he went and dove for your pearls and had them made. Like, he could have just paid to buy them. And I was like, wait, this is more special. And they were like, is it though? So the summer I was 12, my brother was 8 years older than me, and he was going to a university in Waco, Texas. In Waco, there's a river that everyone likes to go and have a lazy river time during the summer. A lot of the college students will go, they'll hook up these inflatable tubes to each other, drink beer, hang out. It's really fun, and it's a cute little man-made river, right? That summer, my brother was staying in Waco. I don't remember why. I think he was working, and I begged my mom to let me go visit him, and so she let me and 2 of my friends go and visit him. My brother drove up to pick us up, and then he drove us back down. I know, what a sweet brother. So me and 2 of my friends, let's call them Candace and Perry. Y'all already heard about Perry. And we were there in our little tankinis feeling real cool and cute. Now, Perry, as I talked about, she had the mother that bribed me with the Louis Vuitton purse, bribed me for my silence and my forgiveness, and it worked. And Candace, she was a legacy at our school. So if you don't know what that is, that means that she comes from a long line of siblings and or parents that also went to the Christian school that I went to. She had 3 older sisters and they all went there. Her dad was some sort of architect and her mother was a stay-at-home mom like most of the moms were. My brother and his friends, they had created this long line of floaties that basically made a little train that you could sit on, and they had all these little floaties to carry their drinks as well. And my brother had constructed this cute little floaty train system for me and my friends so that we were hooked up to all of him and his friends while we floated down the river, because God forbid that one of these young girls drown and they face the wrath of my Filipino mother. So we're floating down the river. It's a good time. We're sizzling like little hotcakes in the sun. We had lemon juiced our hair, and of course we had those little Playboy bunny stickers that we would put on our skin so that way we would get tan and then it would leave like a little outline. Millennial girlies, I know that you already know. So we're floating along. It's a great time. I think we've been floating for maybe like, I want to say 3 or 4 hours. And at some point, these boys start getting really rowdy and teasing us and trying to shove us off of the floaties because they're shoving some of the older girls that were friends with my brother off their floaties. Everyone's kind of like pushing each other, playing chicken. It's getting a little rowdy and fun. And at one point, I get on my brother's friend's shoulders and we start playing chicken with Candace and my brother. She's on my brother's shoulders. Now we are like balancing on these floaty rafts and it is not easy, right? I end up shoving her over because I am a beast. She falls in the water. Candace pops up out of the water. She's laughing and my brother helps her onto the raft. She's like, ha 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 ha. And she goes to grab her neck and she goes, oh my God. We're like, what? And she's like, my necklace is gone. Yes, you guys, this is a Kim K moment for her. She had been wearing her diamond heart necklace that her father had given her when she turned 10 for her 10th birthday. It was a platinum set diamond heart necklace and she wore it every single day. Like I saw her wearing it all the time. Apparently this girl had been wearing that necklace in the lazy river and somehow it had flown off her neck while we were scuffling about and presumably fallen deep into the depths of the river, never to be found again. She immediately is like, oh my God. My brother and his friends, they snap to attention, they dive into the water and they start looking for this diamond necklace. The river is man-made and it's not like crazy deep, but obviously it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. They're down there, she's like standing on the rafter. We're trying to comfort her because she's like freaking out. She's like, I can't believe I forgot to take it off. My dad is gonna kill me. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We spend hours out there. I don't remember how long exactly it was that we were looking for this damn necklace, but it was until the sun was setting. Those boys looked for it and even recruited some of the nearby floating people until the sun was going down and they couldn't look anymore. And she was like, okay, we have to go and buy goggles and flashlights for your head so we can keep looking. And the boys were like, girl, we cannot find it right now. We're going to have to just reassess this tomorrow because it's not going to happen. So my brother was supposed to take us back that evening to Dallas. It's about an hour drive, hour and a half. But Kayna was freaking out, so her mother paid for us to stay in a hotel so that we could continue our search the next day to go and look for this fucking necklace. So we're leaving the pool. She's on the phone with her mom. Her mom is booking a hotel room for us. We're all wet, wrapped up in towels. She's like losing her mind. Literally like, Candace, there are people dying. And one of my brother's friends is like, I don't understand. Her parents are rich. Like, why can't you just get her another one? And she was like giving him the eyes of death. And he was like, okay, I've never been so scared of a 12-year-old in my life. The boys are taking us back to the hotel. We don't even have anything to spend the night. She had her parents' credit card for emergencies anyways, and that's just something a lot of these kids' parents did. Her mom was like, I'm gonna call the hotel and make sure that you can get in and that you're approved, blah, blah, blah. We're standing at the desk waiting to get checked in and everything. Perry is also calling her parents to try to get someone to courier over some supplies for us. Keep in mind, this is before Postmates and Uber Eats and all that. So we're standing up there. I hear Candace going, Mom, we need to drain the river. Me and my brother are like, did this bitch just say drain the river? Her mom's like, don't worry, sweetie. We're going to do everything we can. I'm trying to figure out who we can call at this hour. She's like, we're going to get professional divers. Like, don't worry. We're going to find your necklace. Now, the devil works hard, y'all, but private Christian school moms with a lot of money, they work harder because by the time we got up to the room, her mom was already halfway booked some divers that were going to come the next day. Who knows? I have no idea how, because it was like 5 or 6 p.m. and the woman was moving magic, or at least her assistants were. Her mom is like, don't worry, Candace. We're going to take care of this tomorrow. We will not stop until we find that necklace. That was a very special gift from your dad, and we don't want him finding out. Oh, so you'd rather pay to drain a river and get SEAL Team 6 in here than tell him to buy her a new necklace? We're in the room. I take a shower. Candace has just been sitting on the bed in her wetsuit and her towel wrapped up, just sad as hell. I come out of the shower. I'm like, Candace, you need to go take a shower, girl. Like, it's been a really long day. She's like, you're right. She goes in the bathroom. Me and Terry are sitting on the bed, exhausted, and talking about how we want to order snacks and everything. And from the bathroom, we just hear, oh my God. And we were like, what? Y'all, this bitch, her necklace had fallen off into one of the cups of her tankini. It was strapped in her bathing suit. So when she got undressed to get in the shower, it fell out. So her mom had to cancel SEAL Team 6 and the proposed plans of the excavation of the river. There was her necklace, all's well that ends well. We didn't have to call the National Guard. The world kept turning, peace was restored, and world hunger was cured. Here's the story of one of the most unhinged 18th birthday parties I ever went to, thrown on a yacht where someone almost died. This yacht party was thrown by my friend, let's call him Skylar. Skylar was that guy at school. He was rich, popular, and one of those dudes that just didn't date any girls. I wonder why. And he was just too cool to date any high school girls. He was a good friend of mine, terrifyingly charming in the way that only boys that don't get in trouble are. His family owned a bunch of gas stations across Texas, so they were uber wealthy. His mother was very much known for her head-to-toe Dior outfits. They had a house in Aspen with a snowmobile garage, a place in France, and Skylar drove a new Porsche Cayenne to school. Now, Skylar had 2 older brothers, who were twins, who were just as terrifyingly handsome, if not more than him. When Skylar was turning 18, they were 21, and just way too involved in our high school life. Like, why are you showing up to our high school football games in matching Gucci tracksuits and Rolexes vibes? You know what I'm saying? His brothers had gone and studied abroad in France, and so they were those annoying boys that just, whenever they had the chance, would drop in about how they spoke France and the time that they studied abroad. After studying abroad, they came back to work for their dad's company, and like I said, very involved in our lives. Skylar's brothers, let's call them Leo and Peter. Peter was a super playboy. He had girls in every area codes, and Leo was just a sweet softie that wanted to find love and had a crush on me and half the cheer squad. Like, dude, can you get a girl your own age? I remember one time Leo gave me a ride home in his G-Wagon and was blasting Ursher in there and trying to do like the moves and was like, yeah, some people tell me that I can dance like him. Okay, white boy. Obviously, for Skylar's 18th birthday, his brothers were hosting the party, and it was on their dad's friend's yacht. Now, where is there a body of water that you can put a fucking yacht on? Near Dallas, you ask? Lake Louisville. That was the place that everyone brought their boats. We spent a lot of summers there in the lakes, barbecuing, hanging out, all that good stuff. So there is a marina over in that lake where you can bring like a 50-foot yacht. So that's what they did. The yacht had a full-ass dance floor. I'm talking like glow lights, balloons, surf and turf station, baked potato station. I remember specifically there was a macaroni and cheese station that they had in like those little martini glasses. Pretty sure it was fire. This surf and turf buffet, I'm not talking Costco shrimp. I'm talking like Wagyu beef, scallops, and oysters vibe. It's giving Logan Huntsberger vibe. There was a dance floor, custom Skylar themed party favors. I'm pretty sure he had fake tattoos that you could put that had his face on it with like a little crown. That was the thing, is he was the king, and so it was very king themed. And your girl's there in her bandage dress like she is on Below the Deck Teen Edition, you know? Now let's talk about the drinks. The twins brought a bunch of fruit spiked drinks. Lots of non-approved teen drinks, and we was sipping on it like Capri Sun. We're over there, teenagers acting like it is Coachella on water. And you already know my disclaimer, kids, do not do as I do not do as the people that I do, okay? Bad, bad, bad. Cautionary tales, okay? I do not want to get sent to the principal's office again. So one of our friends, let's call her Bella. Bella starts going hard on that watermelon. She's dancing, giggling, absolutely vibing. I mean, we all are. You can see this girl visibly hitting a point where her body's like, okay, bestie, we're done. Apparently she was stumbling a bit, made her way over to the side railing, and was emptying the remains of her insides. Meanwhile, your girl in the bandaged dress, looking like a skinny pig in a blanket. I was in the middle of the dance floor with Leo, one of the twins. Peter was DJing, by the way, the other one. And I'm in the middle of the dance floor kissing Leo. I don't know how it happened. One minute I was over there sipping on my non-approved juice box. The next moment I'm on the dance floor and he's pulling me in, probably whispering something that was giving sexy Facebook energy, right? And there we are making out under the glow lights, surrounded by fancy shrimp skewers and very bad decisions. This man had cheekbones carved by capitalism and the emotional availability of a goldfish. But in the moment, it was giving big CW pilot energy. Here I am mid-kiss, the music is pumping, it is loud as hell. And suddenly I can hear, over the music, someone screaming. Everyone's looking up. Me and Leo unlock lips. Peter turns down the DJ music, and we just hear someone yelling, "Bella fell overboard." What? I pull back stunned, lip gloss smeared, twin confused. Chaos has erupted on the boat. Someone is yelling, "Call the Coast Guard." Maybe we shouldn't do that. We are not in international waters, you know what I'm saying? And also we're doing very un-internationally legal things. One of the twins, I don't remember which one. I'm actually thinking it was probably Leo, the one that I was kissing, because suddenly I was left alone on the dance floor and I'm thinking Peter was still behind the DJ booth. A drink falls and splashes on my sparkly ass heels and I just hear people running and water splashing. All these boys are jumping into the ocean like it is Baywatch in the Bible because Bella is in the ocean in the fucking dark after eating 14 cubes of spiked fruit. They get her out. She's fine. She's crying. She's hysterical, obviously. A bunch of our other girlfriends are crying because we think this is the last we've seen Bella. She gets wrapped in a towel. People are standing around like with their shrimp cocktails watching, and I'm over here wondering if I got mono from this guy that probably kisses his mirror better than he just kissed me right now. Me and my friends go sit with Bella. We're comforting her. We're getting her some Wagyu beef. Nothing staves off a near-death experience like grade A meat. She was fine. The party continued. We all made it back safe and sound. No one got in trouble because it was giving rich, unsupervised, delusional, and dedicated to Jesus. Looking back, obviously we had no business being on that yacht. There were no adults, well, responsible adults. There was no emergency plan, just glow sticks and a dance floor floating on questionable decisions. And the next day, Bella got pneumonia. So again, my babies, do not do what I do as the wannabe rich girl with no brain cells and rich friends. This time we're talking about the Sadie Hawkins dance. If you don't know what that is, it was the dance in high school where the girl traditionally asks the guy to the dance instead of the guy asking the girl. And obviously, since we were at this crazy rich private Christian school, the girls also were very extra in their proposals to the men on the dances. Perry, y'all remember Perry, my girlfriend whose mother gave me the gilt Louis Vuitton? Yes, she had a obviously stunning proposal for her boyfriend Ryan. So freshman year, Sadie Hawkins dance. It is Valentine's dance, so it's February. Ryan, her boyfriend, we're calling him Ryan. Perry and Ryan had started dating recently before the Sadie Hawkins dance, and she was head over heels for this boy. He was on the football team. I think he was the running back, the tight end, the fat safety. Now I'm just naming football positions. Quarterback. Ryan was super into vintage cars, like would not shut up about hydraulics, lowriders, whatever. Exhibit was his favorite TV show. Was it Exhibit that did Pimp My Ride? I think so. He was obsessed with that. Perry was obsessed with Ryan. So what does Perry do? Perry organized all the cheerleaders to help her ask him to Sadie Hawkins dance. So picture this. Ryan walks out of football practice, sweaty, pads on, helmet in hand. The rest of the football players walking out. and out comes a fleet of vintage cars. Like old school painted cars with hydraulics. I think there was flames on the side of one of them. Her dad went and rented all the best ones that he could find at some vintage dealerships in Texas. I think some of them even came from Austin. I know that he sourced different ones from different dealerships because she specifically wanted Ryan to see in her words, a cultural variety of different cars from different places because it just seemed a lot more exotic, and if you have the money, why not? There were 7 vintage cars in total. I was in the first car, and I just remember it was this cherry red vintage Impala that basically looked like it was dragging its ass on the floor, like apple bottom on the floor, and it was rearing up and down like all of them. And each car has a different cheerleader holding up a sign that reads, "Let's cruise to the dance together." And then in the very last car is Perry, sitting in the backseat of a hot pink old school Cadillac, surrounded by red heart balloons all over her, wearing a fucking red ball gown like she is going to the prom at Met Gala. The football players are all out there watching. Ryan's jaw is on the floor. My jaw's on the floor too as I'm in the freaking car holding up the sign, being like, I wish Perry was my girlfriend. And I forgot to mention that each car was synchronized to be blasting out of their speakers DMX's Gon' Give It To You. So it was like full on Pimp Daddy parade at the whitest rich Christian school. Hydraulics pumping, and obviously Ryan said yes, because who's gonna say no to a Sadie Hawkins proposal that costs as much as some people's weddings? Because Perry, the girl, does not ask questions. She produces them. Like full cinematic Sadie Hawkins moments sponsored by Generational Wealth. Meanwhile, my date is also in the lineup of football players looking at me like, girl, you just slipped me a note in third period being like, yo, you want to go to the dance with me?
When I was 5 or 6 years old, I sent a boy to the hospital, but it's totally not as bad as it sounds. Okay, it might be as bad as it sounds. Disclaimer, I am on day 5 out of wisdom teeth removal surgery, so I am looking a little more potato-y than I typically do, but we are powering through, you guys, because I have missed giving you my story times. And today felt like the correct day to tell you guys the story of the first time I showed a boy what it really meant to fuck around and find out. So here I am, an upper middle class girl in a very rich private Christian school where the girls have monogram jumpers from a uniform boutique and the boys have Rolexes by the time they're in middle school. Around this age, we also had a mini rock climbing gym / wall that was donated by a family friend of the school. Because what better way to teach rich kids how to strengthen their phalanges for all those real world scenarios where they're going to need to use their finger strength, like gripping onto privilege and first opportunity choices, you know? So when I was about 5 or 6, I had my first boyfriend. And by boyfriend, I mean we climbed the jungle gym together and he followed me around asking if he could smell my hair, but also telling me that I looked like a princess. So obviously, he was our very first version of a kindergarten gentleman, and let's call him Tommy. Now, Tommy used to share his snack pack with me at lunch, where we would share the golden spoon that his mother included in his lunch pack that was bought at some obscure, fancy French Alp boutique. He would save me a seat at chapel so that we could praise the Lord together as young children who don't know who the Lord is. I still don't. And I remember a very specific instance where I had dropped my popsicle. So what did this little angel do? He gave me his popsicle and picked up the one on the ground and ate it. Sweet. And not afraid of germs. We love a ballsy king who is unconcerned with his own health and cleanliness. Alas, in my class there was also, let's call him Mario. Mario the Menace. Mario was a menace to society and he was a menace to me. He was my very first bully. He used to call me spoiled spotted peach because of my freckles. He would pull my hair, he would kick me in the shins, and push me off the seesaw, all while sipping his little bottled Voss water while laughing like an evil baby villain. One day, after trying to lift my skirt up and shoving me in the sandbox face first, Mario declared that he wanted to be my boyfriend now. But no. 5-year-old me was not about to go enemies to lovers with this boy. So I told him, oh, you really want to be my boyfriend? Well, then you have to prove yourself. Knowing that this boy was very competitive and single-handedly tried to win tug-of-war on his own. In my tiny glitter headband-wearing brain, I was thinking of something very diabolical for him to prove himself. And because your girl has been the same steadily throughout her entire life, 5-year-old me grabbed the nearest thing on the craft table, which was a brand spanking new bottle of Elmer's glue. And I said, okay, you want to be my boyfriend? Drink this. And he said, if I drink this, I can sit with you at lunch and push you on the swings. We know this boy meant push me off the swings, but I said, Yes, absolutely. And Mario the Menace, in his tiny little white polo and little Ferragamo shoes, fucking did it. That boy chugged that glue like he was getting hazed at a frat party in the middle of America in 2008. 5 minutes later, little homie is pale and clutching his belly underneath his Vineyards Vines belt and rolling on the ground. Our teacher, in her Talbot's cardigan, comes screaming and running over. He gets shipped off to the nearest hospital, and the next day my mother gets a very foreboding call. Little Mario had to get his stomach pumped at the same hospital where our school board members donate all their golf tournament winnings. Mario was okay, and his family was very rich and wanted to keep everything hush-hush because they did not want the general public to know that the heir to their family fortune drank glue to impress a little girl. So my mother did not have to pay anything to the hospital, and I did not have to go to baby jail for coercion. Meanwhile, my sweet little Tommy is sitting there at recess with his unshared snack pack, looking at me longingly like, this is why nice guys finish last. No, I did not date Mario because even at 5, I still had standards. And obviously, disclaimer, I am not advocating for young children chugging glue. This was clearly a kindergarten fever dream. I have gotten this question a lot from people that are potentially going to rich private Christian schools and might not fit the tax bracket of the average person there. So, my mamacitas, papacitas, deycitas, here's my advice for anyone that's going to be in this situation, and honestly just advice for anyone that's going into the school year and might be a little bit nervous in general. This advice comes from me, a former popular girl that was upper middle class at a very rich private Christian school in Dallas. Confidence is your currency. Sure, these kids have their daddy's American Express, but what you have cannot be bought, babe. Walk in like you own that shit. Walk in like you belong there because you do. There is not a room on this earth or a place that you don't belong, and remember that, and do not ever let anyone make you feel otherwise because those people deserve to be kicked in the face. Never ever shrink yourself to be more digestible for others. Let them choke if they can't handle you. Wealth is just one type of capital, but personality and presence are what make you magnetic and memorable. Find your people fast. Not everyone's going to be your friend and not everyone's going to like you, and baby, that's okay, and that is a lesson that we all need to learn early in life because it saves us a lot of people pleasing and a lot of heartache. Do not be afraid to say hi and introduce yourself to multiple people. Not everyone's going to respond great or correctly. Sometimes, a lot of times, you're going to have to talk to multiple people to find your crew, and that's okay. Some of them aren't going to stick. Move along to the next. Trust me, the right people will stick. Don't try to fake money. They'll clock it from the get-go, and they will lose respect for you even faster than if you had just been upfront about the fact that you are not on their level of wealth. Lean into your unique style and background. Remember, you're different than them, and that makes you interesting. What is different than other people is what makes them curious about you. Rich kids honestly get bored of seeing people with the same designer shit all the time. They're gonna remember the girl or boy that has something different. Cool thrift finds. Honestly, Regina George, when she said, oh, I love your vintage bracelet, that was actually the right energy, even though she was a bitch about it. Every kid's gonna have the same Chrome Hearts, t-shirt, Hermes Birkin, and Prada loafers. Show them something different that they can't find from their designer sales associate. Learn social codes. A lot of schools have different ones, but a lot of them are similar. So just make sure you do a lot of observing before you dive in. Notice how people talk, how they interact with each other, the little rituals they do after school. I'm not saying this so that you can copy them. I'm saying this just so you can know what you're getting into. Also, being curious about people is the #1 step to getting them to feel comfortable with you. Doing this is like studying a new culture, and it helps you immerse yourself without losing yourself. Next, don't ever get caught up in comparison. This is advice that I have to take daily. Someone in your life will always have more, always be better at something, will always be better looking, will always have more than you. That's okay. Their lane is not your lane. Your lane is something entirely different. It could be telling great stories, being entertaining, a killer sense of humor, and the confidence that would make anyone want to sit at your lunch table. One of the most popular guys that went to my high school, a very good friend of mine, let's call him Stevie. Stevie was not the best looking, he did not play any sports, and he was on the lower end of the rich scale of the rich kids at the school. What he had was incredible confidence. He would talk to anyone, he didn't care who it was. Every single girl wanted to date him, and every dude wanted to be his friend. Similar to why I was popular and had a lot of friends as well. I am no better than the next girl or boy, but what I have is Undiluted confidence in my sense of self and who I am. It comes from a place of just choosing to be genuinely happy and kind to others. Kindness is cool. Being a mean girl is not. People that act like that, you do not want to be their friend anyways. The thing that I held on to while going to this school, I lived my life unapologetic for who I am, and that's how I live my life today. I do believe it comes from something that was different about my upbringing than other people at that school, which was I grew up with a single mom who struggled a lot to get to where she was and to put me through that school. And that gave me a sense of knowing that money, nepotism, connections, none of that got me to where I was. And that gave me an incredible, strong sense of self and something that I held on to. So find what it is that inspires you to hold on to who you are and your uniqueness, and that will guide you through. Final thoughts. Learn, observe, listen, ask questions, because no matter what age, people love to talk about themselves. And you can learn so much from successful people in general. Remember, you're not there to become them. You're there to be you. That is way, way more powerful. You're gonna do fine. I love you very much. This time to the villa, we are bringing back a few players that you already know. Number 1, Klepto Kaylee. If you recall my story time with Klepto Kaylee, who once got tackled like a mid-tier football running back at the mall mid-Winona moment. Our second guest star is Mrs. D, my arch nemesis at school, the skirt-length patrol demon who was married to a man known for frequenting ladies that didn't wear skirts at all, which resulted in some very bothersome and uncomfortable symptoms that she had down below. The year is sophomore year. Kaylee has decided that she is going to throw an epic full-blown rager at her house because her parents were attempting to save their marriage yet again by going glamping in the Galapagos Islands for their wedding anniversary. Kaylee's mom loved a Chardonnay spritz, just like all the other chemically peeled, emotionally neglected Dallas housewives. Kaylee's father, in an attempt to avoid responsibility in his actual family, had built Kaylee's mother a literal Sistine Chapel-themed wine cellar in the basement of their home. Velour couches imported from Italy, floor-to-ceiling liquor walls, mood lighting and chandeliers. It was high-end nightclub meets Hobby Lobby guilt. By this point in our friendship group arc and descent into rebellion, we had mastered the art of alcohol forgery. Kids, do not do as I do and do not do as my friends do. These are all cautionary tales. We were 15 and just straight up evil. That's what happens when you try to force the power of the Lord down children's throats without their consent. We were replacing whiskey bottles with Coke, sparkling water and tequila bottles, just topping off what we stole and rotating things through like mini prohibition scammers. Kind of iconic though, but very unhinged and very criminal. So, old Klepto Kaylee, she decides to throw this frickin' rager. And we are deep in the planning phase, okay? We feel like we are J-Lo in the wedding planner. We're passing between all of our friends' notes in class that's basically like a full-on PowerPoint, full of charts, sketches, blueprints, bullet points like refill gin bottle with vinegar? Buy Sprite pressed red solo cups. So-and-so's brother to bring his DJ set. Kaylee's neighbor's 22-year-old brother to DJ the party. He is sketchy, but at least he's got an ox. Snacks, goldfish, Funyuns, maybe weed brownies if Emily's cousin can come through. Real agenda energy. We were future little event planners in the making. Here's the problem. We're in Mrs. D's class, aka Satan in a Ross dress for less cardigan, and one of our friends tries to pass the note and fumbles. This girl clearly was not doing well in PE class because she tried to throw it and it just landed right in front of Mrs. D's feet, mid-lecture. Right in her line of fire, she snatches it up, mid-boring-ass lesson point, doesn't even blink, turns and just chucks it into her desk drawer. Each of us is eyeing each other like, well, now we done fucked up. And Kaylee mouths to me, what are we gonna do? The bell rings and your girl, she works on impulse because as soon as that bell hit, I sprint out of the classroom like I am chasing the last Chanel sample sale on Madison Avenue. I sprint down the hallway so that I can beat all the children that are about to start spewing into the hallway, and I may or may not have pulled the fire alarm. Allegedly. Could have been a gust of wind, it could have been divine malfunction, like we don't know, we still don't know. The fire alarm goes off. Suddenly, it is chaos. Teachers are herding students like confused luxury livestock, hiding around in their Birkenstocks and Prada loafers as they try to file the hell out of there. In the midst of all this private school pandemonium, I covert style duck my little ass into the bathroom stall. I'm hiding in a stall with my feet on the seat like some plaid-wearing gargoyle. I wait, I listen, and I observe, and I'm using all my senses until the coast is clear. I sneak back into the hallway, back into the classroom, super ninja mode. I see the drawer and it has a keyhole and I'm thinking, oh dear God, no. I'm like looking around thinking, am I gonna have to pick this lock with a toothpick and a stray bobby pin? You know what I'm saying? But thank goodness it was not locked. Slide open that desk drawer. I grab that party planning manifesto, plus like 5 other confiscated notes that were sitting next to her I Heart Jesus bookmark and a very suspiciously shaped neck massager. I close it up and I go back to my little gargoyle stance in the bathroom to wait till everyone comes back in so I can herd my little ass in with the crowd. Now, did I return the extra notes that I found? Some of them, the ones of my friends that were taken. And then the others, did I read every single one and gain an unholy amount of gossip and teenage wisdom that fueled me spiritually and fed my soul for years? Maybe. So, did the party happen? Oh, baby. Yes. Yes, it did. And it was epic. Well worth the party planning, my secret ninja mission, and the inevitable backlash that happened later. It was absolutely insane. Let me know if y'all want part 2 of actually what went down at the party, because it's actually even more iconic than all the buildup that led to it. It's part 2 of my most recent Rich Private Christian School story, the Confiscated No Mission Saga. So this is part 2 of that. If you haven't watched that video yet, I highly suggest going 3 videos back and watching that first. Otherwise, the story is going to sound completely unhinged, which actually, to be fair, it is. So, the party happens. And obviously we needed a theme, because what else are you going to do when you're a rich, indoctrinated teen with nothing but time, daddy's credit card, and you're throwing a not so authorized gathering of teens in your parents' Tuscan-style wine cellar? So we were obsessed with The Simple Life because it was mid during that time. We were all about Paris Hilton, the original influencer, love her, our queen. And so we decided that our theme was going to be Swarovski. Kaylee had gone and spent literal thousands of dollars on hundreds of thousands of Swarovski crystals, different colors, pinks, silvers, grays, all of it. A bunch of us sat in her house the week before the party, bedazzling everything from cups to plates, tablecloths. Our delinquent friend group was basically building a DIY Paris Hilton shrine. We were 15, we were unstoppable, we were dangerous. So we hit North Park Mall in Dallas for dresses pre-party, which were definitely too grown for our little teenage bodies. I got mine courtesy of my friend whose dad used to give out hundreds like it was a Hustler magazine subscription. And Kaylee wore a full-on Swarovski crown because it's her party, and even though it's not her birthday, she is the queen of that castle. So we got everything set up. It basically looked like sparkly Barbie house had thrown up in her mansion. But we got the bar set up, the DJ booth, got Jello treats, mystery bottled cocktails with names like Malibu Madness and Vomit Sunrise, and a build-your-own nacho bar and Frito pie bar, because obviously that's what we thought was elevated as teenagers. I mean, we really thought we did something and that this was wedding tier catering. And then Kaylee's 22-year-old sketchy neighbor did agree to DJ if he was allowed to hang out with us after. Obviously, very big red flag, but in our teen brains, we were like, sure, this is a great idea. We made all these like little glittery signs that went over the doorways where you couldn't go in. And the rules were you couldn't go into Kaylee's parents' bedroom, any of the guest rooms. You couldn't touch any of the bottles that were in the wine cellar where the party was mainly located and situated, except for bottles that were specifically designated in the bar area. And included in the no-fly zone was this insanely gorgeous, imported from, I don't know, like 1800s pre-war China, Oriental hand-carved hutch that held Kaylee's dad's greatest treasures, which were 4 bottles of a super expensive and very rare type of whiskey that he'd gotten at some random auction in Europe that apparently needed to age 15 years. So you didn't open them at all. They aged for 15 years. And then after 15 years, you could resell them for like 10 to 12 grand each. So that had double signs on it being like, do not cross, do not pass go, do not collect $100. So naturally, I think you already know where this is going, y'all. So the party's popping. It's a great time. There's hundreds of teens in this house. Our friend group is incredibly proud because we feel like we are bar mitzvah level accomplished party planners. So I'm on the dance floor, right? Twirling in my bedazzled dress, dropping it low, making it skeet skeet from the windows to the walls, and then Kaylee runs up to me in a frenzied panic. Her crown all tilted and her eyes are crazy. And she's like, girl, I need you to come with me, stat. I'm like, okay, what's going on? She drags me across the house, which is huge. And there, next to her parents' super expensive, rare Victorian bed frame, in front of her mother's imported pashmina rug, is a situation. Someone had been violently unwell. I'm talking like projectile Family Guy style, raspberry and green mixed substances in a huge puddle on the carpet, taking enough space to basically be worth more than my life. It looked like a Four Loko exorcism. Kaylee is like, yeah, so I'm not graduating high school because my parents are going to bury me in the backyard. So we go around the party, gather up the troops and all of our close friends, and we go into full-on crisis mode. We're scrubbing, we're Febrezing, we're like Nancy Drew cleanup crew, flipping the rug like we are covering up a felony. Just praying that her mother does not realize that her pashmina rug is now covering teenage chemical regret. We do our best. We finish up the party. It's a great time. We electric slide and cha-cha smooth our way to the next morning. Next morning we wake up and a bunch of people had passed out at the house. There's probably maybe like 10 to 15 of us that had already planned on staying the night there so that we could be a part of the cleanup crew. And we scatter across that big ass house in onesies and shame, and the place is a frickin' war zone, y'all. Teenagers are disgusting, first of all. It looked like a post-grad frat party / mosh pit rock concert gone wrong. But the worst part, all the things that people weren't supposed to do, obviously they did it. Someone got sick in Kaylee's bedroom, her bathroom, 2 of the guest room bathrooms, 1 of the guest rooms, and then let's not forget the shame that we had already covered up in her parents' bedroom. We were scuffling around trying to clean up everything like unpaid interns for FEMA. And then we are in the wine cellar, gathering up cups, chucking things in the trash, when someone notices the holy, decorative, oriental hutch with a door that was ajar. You already know. You already know. I don't even have to tell you. Pre-party, there were 4 bottles. 4 full, unopened, new, aging gracefully bottles. 2 of those bottles completely empty. 1 bottle still in touch, 1 bottle missing. Haley's face actually goes gray. Like in books when you see like her face went ashen. I saw it in real life. She goes, y'all, my dad loves those bottles more than he loves me. Even the rich got daddy issues. So we go full hungover hobbits on a quest, on a mission to find that missing bottle. After, I want to say, I mean, it felt like hours. Like your girl was on death's door and she was dragging and not doing well. But after hours, we finally somehow discovered it in the backyard near the hot tub. We refill all bottles with Diet Coke, seal them with tape and a prayer, and put them back in their little hutch home like nothing had happened. And Kaylee's like, well, let's hope and pray that he doesn't open these up until I'm well and off married in another country under a different name and a different alias. So, cleanup happens. Life moves on. Your girl, she goes to New York. She has her New York adventures. She comes to LA. Kaylee gets married. She has children. Majority of my friends get married and have children. They get divorces and have multiple children. Kaylee and I had a small little tiff / misunderstanding in our mid-20s, and we didn't talk anymore. But after that, over the years, we just kind of were cordial and would like say hi and everything when I would be back in Dallas, and we'd still occasionally comment on each other's posts like suburban Cold War ex-friends, you know, kept it classy still. Pretty much kind of buried, but we just weren't good friends again. Y'all, 2 or 3 years ago, I'm here in LA and I get randomly added to this Facebook friend group. And I don't really use Facebook except to catch up with my mother and her weird little friends, but obviously still get the notifications. So I see that I have been added to this like 20 to 30 person group, and I look and they're all from our high school, and Kaylee is the mediator and creator of the group. And in the chat, Kaylee drops this bomb. She's like, y'all, do you remember my sophomore year Swarovski party? My dad just called me furious. He was finally going to go sell those collector whiskey bottles that were in the hutch, and he just discovered that they're all filled with stale old Diet Coke. And she's like, he drilled me and asked me if I knew anything about this, and I told him that I knew nothing, and I pleaded the fifth. And she's like, thank God that I gave this man grandchildren, otherwise he probably would have cut me out of the will. So, that was a fun high school reunion chat that I didn't think would ever happen. Moral of the story, kids. Again, disclaimer, do not do as I do or what my friends do. Y'all already know. Don't throw a Swarovski-themed rager in a mansion with white carpets. Don't mess with suburban daddies who collect rare whiskeys like they're NFTs. And definitely don't commit alcohol fraud with Diet Coke. It's just too obvious. Remember my homecoming proposal story that I did a while back where my date codenamed Tanner, who was an upperclassman who asked me to homecoming with a literal horse and carriage, Prince Charming style, because my nickname was Polka and he looked like Cinderella's prince? If you haven't watched that story, watch that part first. It is part 8 of my private rich Christian school playlist, so you can go back there and watch it, but this is the follow-up of that. And I have something really special because this is the dress drama that followed. In order to tell this story properly, I partnered with Princess Polly to give you guys a visual aid of these dresses, and I will end this with an actual photo of the dress at the end, so grab that popcorn and buckle up, because this is a good one. So after a couple days or a week or so after I had said yes to lovely Tanner, there was a moment where I realized, like, I actually need a dress for this. And here's the thing. Tanner already knew that I was poor in comparison to all my very rich private Christian school buddies, and he, thank God, had mercy on my soul. and probably just didn't want to be embarrassed with bringing a date that had a dress that was patched together by potato sack scraps and glitter, you know what I mean? So he calls one day and he goes, look, my mom doesn't have any daughters, as you know, and she absolutely loves you. Please let her take dress shopping. This is the highlight of her life. If you say no, the woman will blame me for the rest of her life. So please do me a favor and let her do this for you. Like, not me being emotionally blackmailed my kindness. So one Saturday comes around, and Tanner's mother, let's call her Mama T. Mama T was a first-generation Italian woman married to Tanner's Texas oil heir father, and she was traditional, loud, bossy, and just absolutely wonderful. I loved her. So she texts me before, and she says, wear something smart and casual garden chic for our dress shopping adventure. I'm thinking, what does that even mean? So your girl throws on something that said Suburban Tea Party meets clearance rack, and I hope for the best. The Mama T pulls up in her white gold trimmed Porsche Cayenne, wearing a floor-length leopard kaftan and huge oversized designer sunglasses, and her signature Amy Winehouse beehive. Because the higher the hair, the closer to God, of course. But wait. I walk over to get into the front seat, but the front seat door opens and out pops this tiny older woman wearing huge ass pearls and a face that says she has lived through multiple world wars and regrets nothing. And thus I was introduced to Grandma T. Tanner's very Italian, very opinionated, fresh off the plane from Italy, grandma. I'm in the back of this luxury vehicle, sitting behind two generations of unfiltered Italian chaos, trying not to sweat through my bargain bin dress. First stop, was it the dresser? No, actually, we were going to have high tea at the Crescent Hotel in Dallas. Heirloom tomato sandwiches, praline tarts, and teas with names like Earl Grey's royal nephew. Mama T and Grandma T are daintily sipping their herbal tea like they're hiding state secrets, and I'm over here inhaling all the food like I have not eaten in days. So after I stuffed my face with tiny tea sandwiches for the winter, we got back in the car and we headed to the dress store. Pulling up to the boutique, Mama T barely even cuts the engine as she rolls up to the valet. She gets out, and when we walk into that store, the sales associate is literally waiting for us. She goes, hi, here are your racks, plural. She leads me to two racks, one full of blue dresses and one full of yellow dresses. I'm like, wait, where's the pink rack? Because I thought that I had specifically mentioned to Tanner before that I wanted us to wear pink. And the sales associate goes, oh, actually, these were pre-selected by the family. Girl, I'm trying to stay grateful because I am not footing the bill, but I feel like I walked into a fashion intervention. First up, we've got Grandma T's pick. It was this gorgeous floral baby blue dress that looked like this, that kind of actually gave Princess Genovia vibes, and it really did slay. It was giving rich prairie widow marries the young duke vibes. And Grandma T is like, yes, blue is the color of royalty. Blue is what's best for you. Meanwhile, Mama T is getting her champagne refilled by multiple sales associates, giving me the death glare in my little blue number. And she's like, no. Blue makes cat look pale, like death. Like, Mama T, excuse me, this cocoa butter skin has never been pale in her life. Next up, we had Mama T's pick, which looked like this. It was this gorgeous buttery yellow number. Mama T's like, yes, this is the dress that I would pick because I've always thought that I would look good next to Matthew McConaughey. Mama T, you're not the one going to homecoming. It was really giving How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Andy Anderson style. And Grandma T's not impressed. She's like, oh no, that looks like Kat has jaundice. Which is extra rude because I actually did have jaundice as a baby, so I took quite offense to that. The two of them start going in, and Grandma T's like, she can't take style advice from you. Remember your wedding dress? You looked like a psychotic poodle. And Mama T is like, oh please, you are white to your third divorce hearing. And I'm just standing there in heels that I can't afford, sipping on sparkling grape juice, like I'm watching a mafia roast battle. Then, the angelic sales associate, who was also watching this like a car crash next to me, goes, hey, psst. Didn't you say you wanted to wear pink? And she hands me a dress like this silky supple pink number. I was in the dressing room putting this on, and I literally heard heavenly choir noises. It hugged right. It shimmered right. It was the dress. So I walk out of the dressing room, and Mama T and Grandma T, they stop their bickering, and they both audibly gasp when they see me. And they're both just like, oh yeah, that's the one. Perfect, like her. Like, was I just trauma bonded into a compliment by these two bickering old Italian women? I will take it. So I went with the pink dress, and Tate wore his matching silky satin pink tie to match with a pink boutonniere. It was giving Barbie royalty. Still remember that night like a rom-com that never got optioned.
Recreating this dress in that moment has been iconic. And what y'all have all been waiting for? The original dress herself. The one that this pic was inspired by. Here she is in all her 2000s glory. Let's talk Mean Girls at my private rich Christian school in Dallas. Okay, so freshman year, the Mean Girls came in the form of older girls. Freshman year, me and a bunch of my friends tried out for and joined the JV cheerleading squad. The older girls that were mean didn't bully you over cafeteria seats, but over flyer positions. Many of us freshman girls were actually better than the sophomore girls, which did not make them very happy. There were two girls in particular that were flyers that were replaced by me and old girl Perry. My girl Perry, we've covered her many times. Her mother tried to bribe my forgiveness with a Louis Vuitton bag. We replaced these two girls, let's call them Ellen and Natalie, who were absolutely wrecked that we replaced them. Now, Natalie was the main flyer at the time, and Perry replaced her because Perry was iconic. Perry was this gymnast, dancer, hybrid freak of nature that was just built for stunting. She had been in gymnastics and dance class since we were like 5. Like, the girlie didn't have bones. Her body could do things that you would only see in The Exorcist. So Perry had replaced Natalie, and Natalie was acting like Perry had burned Natalie's family estate to the ground. Her and Ellen would walk by, side-eye us, make little comments about us. They would call us fish. They were cold, dismissive. Now, as talented as my baby girl Perry was, she was still coming out of that unfortunate middle school brace face era, and she had to wear top to bottom retainers pretty much all the time except for when she was eating or cheering. And every time during practice, pep rallies, or whenever she would have to cheer, she would always keep it in the girls' locker room on the top shelf. Her cute little retainer in her little bedazzled aquamarine case. I know you know and remember these. So one day, flash forward to a pep rally, and afterwards we're sweating, we're happy, we pumped up the crowd, we get back to the locker room, and Perry starts freaking out. She's like, oh my God, my retainer's missing. And we're like, what? How is it missing? No one's been in here the whole time that we have been out there cheering. But the thing has vanished. So we tear through the locker room looking for this contraption. And then one of the other freshman girls whispers to me, and she's like, I just heard Ellen and Natalie laughing and snickering and saying that maybe someone threw it in the trash because it was nasty and smelled. Oh, hell no. Lo and behold, we go through the trash, and there's that little sparkly thing. Perry's retainer next to some gross-ass old banana peel and a stale protein bar. Natalie and Ellen are standing there smirking like, oh my God, how did that happen? And I'm like, yeah, how did that happen? And they're like, I don't know, accidents happen. Like, accidents happen. Fish. Like, girl, what? No. You bitches may have been born 12 months earlier than us, but ain't nobody mess with my friend and her orthodontal accessories like that. So Perry washes it off like a champ, and I'm just sitting there glaring and plotting in silence. Because one thing about me is I believe greatly in karma. And I believe sometimes you need to facilitate that karma and just help it along a little bit. If you have the resources, use what you have to further the plot. And one thing I had was Klepto Kaylee. Klepto Kaylee, my friend that got tackled in the mall for her snatch and grab activities. And one thing that Klepto Kaylee had were coconuts, because the girl was stacked. Like, God had favorites, and Kaylee got the first draft of boobs. The boys were obsessed, of course. All the boys on the football team were, especially watching her jump around and cheer in her very low-cut little tank top at practice. And someone who was especially obsessed was Natalie's boyfriend. Let's call him Ray. Ray had a wandering gaze, and I had a wandering mastermind. So we come up with a plan, and Kaylee starts putting the moves on Ray. She starts flirting with him, paying extra attention to him, touching his hand, giving him extra deep, meaningful, tight hugs when she sees him, walking past him in slow motion, brushing up against him, and the boy was shook every time. And the more that Kaylee is displaying her bouncing bazungas in front of him and in front of Natalie, the more Natalie is absolutely going out of her way to shove past Perry, shove past Natalie, try to shove past me, but I will body check you back, girl. So this teenage pettiness is going back and forth, but then one day after practice, me, Perry, and Kaylee head to the football field to hang and watch the boys practice, which is something that a lot of the cheerleaders regularly did because the football team got out a little bit later than we did. So we ran ahead to go and be spunky little spectators while a couple of the other freshman cheerleaders stayed back and were just chatting up Natalie and Ellen, peppering them with questions about how to be a better cheerleader, what it's like being a cool sophomore girl, yada, yada, yada. They're stalling them, and then we run out there, and the boys get done. We're like, Ray, come over here, Ray. Ray takes off his helmet, grinning, and he runs over to us where Kaylee is standing there in a low-cut tank looking like a teenage dream. He comes running with his tongue out like a lapping Labrador, and we see Natalie and the rest of the girls coming out, watching. As soon as Ray gets to us, me and Perry do what had to be done. We shove his face straight into Kaylee's chest. She motorboats him, wedding crashers style. Like Ray is an old sailor and the captain of that ship. Fully immersed on school grounds. The whole football team stops, clearly jealous. Natalie comes stomping over like a Disney villain with a vengeance, and she's like, "What was that?" And me and Perry turned to her and were like, "Oh, oops, clumsy us. Ran into him. I guess you're right, Natalie. Accidents do happen." And that's how I got justice for Perry. The Olympic level horse and the tale of two sisters. I had a friend, let's call her Sky, and she was winning when it came to the genetic gene pool. It was tall, beautiful. Her mother was the most beautiful mother at our school. She literally looked like Heather Locklear. An ex-model, she was 5'11", absolutely stunning. Sky's dad was giving very Kennedy vibes, and he was a very successful trader. Sky and her family lived in the other rich part of the area that I lived in. Me living in category C, her living in category A. Sky was the star of our volleyball team. Super sweet, a little bit shy and reserved, but just a very kind-hearted soul. Straight A student, very, very hard worker. And Sky was very into the rich young girl activity, the equestrian lifestyle. Which I feel like the equestrian lifestyle is for rich girls, what golf lifestyle is for boys. This guy definitely gave blonde Kendall Jenner vibes. And in the same vein, she had her own little Kylie Jenner mini in the form of her younger sister, let's call her Stella. When we were 13, that was about the time that Sky had really started competing a lot, was doing really, really well, and Stella was 9 at the time. Now, Sky's mom loved to stay at home, decorate their beige palace, change it up in different shades of white and beige. It was very much giving Natasha from Sex and the City vibes. She would stay at home, redecorate, do yoga lattes, get her French tips refreshed, and once a week her hairdresser would come to her house and do her hair because she hated any sort of roots showing at all. The lady's hair was always blinding and beautiful at all times. So while Sky was super accomplished, very successful, everything that she did was golden child energy, Stella had zero interest in doing anything other than just sitting her ass on the couch, having their housekeeper make her snack plates, and watching reality television. As a 9-year-old, she was like a B C-list student with multiple tutors, and she hated that Sky was the favorite and was just good at everything she did. It reminds me of that episode whenever Kendall starts modeling and she's doing really well in modeling, and then Kylie like brings up her jalopy portfolio and she's like, "But look at this." So we're 13 and Stella is 9. Sky is competing almost every weekend in all these different horse competitions across Dallas, and sometimes us friends, we would go and watch her. Now, were we good friends to come and watch her? Yes, absolutely. Did we also have hidden agendas as to why we wanted to go all the time? Also, absolutely. Was it the cute boys in their tight riding pants or the other girlies in their cute tight riding pants? No, it was because of Sky's mother. Sky's mother, God bless her, would roll up to these competitions, beige power pantsuit on, huge ass Prada shades on, because she was so tall. She only wore 1-inch kitten heels. Nothing less, nothing more. She would roll up with a team of housekeepers and a themed picnic to every single one of Sky's competitions. Her favorite was Mediterranean themed because they would bring these really cute Moroccan poufs and they would lay them out with all these beautiful blankets, and they'd have this huge spread with like hummus, tzatziki, veggie platter, homemade pita bread, grape leaves, and little mint drinks with little straws. Like, the attention to detail that rich people have is truly amazing. Like existing constantly on a Pinterest board. Sky's mom rolls up with her army of housekeepers in tow, pointing her perfectly acrylic French tip nail, directing them where to go. And all of us friends are just waiting like, we're so hungry. And then me, the broke girl, hungry and with Tupperware. And that was how a lot of our weekends were spent during Sky's competition era. And baby, I was not complaining. I had to be there for my friend. So Sky's family was one of the families that would babysit poor little me while my mother was at work. And on the days that they had me, we would go to Sky's practice or her horse competition after we had practice in volleyball or cheerleading or whatever we were doing. And then we would head back home. So one day, we're in the car on our way back from one of Sky's competitions with this big-ass trophy she's got. And in the car is Sky's mom. One of our other guy friends is also in the car. Sky's mom is just going on and on about how proud she is of us because our guy friend was star basketball player. I was doing well in cheerleading, and Sky was doing really well in volleyball and in horse riding. And also, I forgot to mention that Sky was a baby cardiac surgeon in the making. The woman could do it all. We're driving and chatting, and at some point, Sky's like, "Wait, Mom, where are we going? Because we should have been at her house by now." And she ends up taking us onto this dirt road away from civilization and onto this beautiful ranch property a ways away somewhere in Dallas. Sky's mom is like, you'll see. We're pulling up. Stella's just in the back pouting because no one's been paying attention to her. Sky's freaking out because she's pretty sure she knows what's going on. So we pull up to the front, and in the front is a beautiful beige, just like Sky's mom's favorite outfit color, Palomino horse with a huge-ass red bow on, hair braided in an updo that looks better than anything I would ever have at my wedding, and Sky's handsome Kennedy-looking father smiling next to the horse and the ranch owner. And Sky's like freaking out crying. We all jump out. They're like, surprise! Now you can practice all you want. You're our future Olympian and cardiac surgeon. We're so proud of you, Sky. The horse was gorgeous. Sky's super happy. We're out there meeting the horse, talking to the ranch owners. We take a tour. Everyone's happy and in the bubble except for little baby Stella, who's pouting in the car still. Little baby Timu Kylie was not happy. So we all get back into the car to head back to Sky's house. Everyone's chatting and happy because we're all elated for Sky. She really deserves it. Stella is in the back pouting like she has just been disinherited. So we're on the way home, and Sky's like, sees her sister pouting. Sky's like, oh, Stella, why didn't you want to come out and meet my horse? Aren't you happy for me? And Stella just loses it. She starts crashing out of the car. She's like, Sky gets everything she wants. I don't get anything. I'm unloved. I don't get anything that I want. Sky's mom is like, girl, if you had an interest in something other than watching trash TV, eating snacks, and sitting on the couch, we would invest in you, but you don't have an interest in anything. You don't even care about school or sports. And Stella's like, I have interests. I care about things. I have very deep interests. Y'all just don't know. You don't ask me. This guy's like, oh yeah? What's your freaking interest, girl? And Sky's mom's like, yes, tell us. We'll invest in it if you give us one. We're driving past this pasture full of cows. And Stella, who has never touched grass in her life, looks out the window and she goes, cows. I love cows. I want a cow. Girl is dead serious and screaming that she wants a fucking cow. Like, girl, do you even know the sound a cow makes? Homegirl is crying and screaming all the way back to Sky's house. As soon as we pull into the garage, Stella jumps out of the car at lightning speed and runs into the house. We follow suit, and once we get in, we see her clinging to old Daddy Kennedy, just at his feet, sobbing and screaming that she needs a cow or she will die. Sky's dad is looking at Sky's mom like, what the heck happened in the car? Sky's mom doesn't say a damn thing. She walks right past, she goes to the bar, and she tells one of their housekeepers to make her a Chardonnay spritz. Sky, our friend, and I, we go upstairs to do our homework, and because we're little asshole preteens, as soon as Stella comes upstairs, we start mooing at her, which makes her even more in a rage and goes into her room and pouts. The next week, y'all, what happens? Well, we all go up to the ranch to meet Sky's new horse, Cairo, and who else? Stella's new cow, Princess Thunderbolt. Yes, they got Stella a frickin' cow. Yes, the child that didn't even know where milk comes from got a cow. So then, as we're there, Cairo's in this like cute little competing outfit with his hair braided like he is going to prom. And Stella starts complaining, why doesn't her cow have an outfit and if she can paint her cow pink? Sky's dad looks at the ranch owner and the ranch owner's like, absolutely hell to the no, we can't paint this cow pink. Stella's like, well, what about an outfit? So what did they do? They got yards and yards of pink taffeta and lace, and they made Stella's cow, Princess Thunderbolt, a big-ass tutu, which she teared off after like 5 minutes. And surprise, surprise, after a couple months, Stella got super bored with this cow that she didn't even want and ditched it. And the cow ended up going to live with the ranch owner, which was probably better off for the cow anyways. Y'all, this went on for years, this sort of sister rivalry that they had, more so like Sky being a badass and Stella just wanting to one-up her. Into our sophomore year, when Sky's dad had to file for bankruptcy for insider trading, and I'm pretty sure it's because he was probably trying to keep up with all the demands of these crazy daughters. And yes, Sky did end up being a cardiologist, even with her family drama going on, because she did end up having to transfer to a public school, and I was still over there just with my Tupperware, just wanting a dollop of hummus. My most embarrassing high school moment. I was a cheerleader. This was my sophomore year of high school. We were deep into the football season. Now, I went to a school that was very, very into football culture, as is much of Texas, because what else did they have to live for? Our football team was doing very well that year, and the way that our football field was set up was typical high school. The field around it is a huge track. You've got the bleachers, you've got the like big ass lights above. It was just a typical nighttime game. It was very, very dark outside. I feel like this was springtime, I want to say, because the uniforms we were wearing were the short sleeve ones, and whenever it was cold, we always had like the little long sleeve cutesy poo ones that go underneath. I was a flyer. We were in the middle of a chant routine. This was during the game. The game is full on. The boys are running after each other, tackling each other, touching each other's butts. The parents are all into it. It is a fully stacked
stadium. And I believe it was a really big game too, because I know that it was a very competitive game where a lot of shit talking, people were going back and forth. So it was high stakes, right? Everyone's watching the cheerleaders. We were a very good squad. And so we're in the middle of the chant. The crowd is going. I'm like hyping them up. My bases throw me up. I hit that scorpion pose, okay? Now, scorpion is when you got your leg up, right? I hit that scorpion pose. Bam! As soon as I do that, I'm up there for maybe 2 seconds, and then I feel something fall down my extended leg and into my bloomers. And immediately, I know what it is. The huge-ass bleacher lights that are on in this Texas weather was surrounded by flying crickets. They were all up there swarming, having a good time, having a fucking party. One of those fuckers fell down into my bloomers. Immediately, I freak out, and I'm in a compromising position. Obviously, I'm wiggling on top of like girls towered up. And so they freaking stumble and drop my ass. Thank God they catch me. I am freaking out because I hate bugs. I'm like, oh my God. I start like running around. The crowd is watching me like, what is going on? All my cheerleaders are like, what is going on? I feel it next to my coochie. You know what I'm saying? It is stuck because if you know anything about bloomers and under cheer skirts, it is basically underwear. In my panic, I literally rip off my bloomers and I hurl them into the crowd, into the bleachers. Yes, my panties, my bloomer panties. Thank God I was wearing a thong underneath. But everyone, including my science teacher and my boyfriend's dad at the time, saw my bits. And the crowd was like, oh my God. Everyone's like, what just happened? Oh my goodness. I'm mortified. Also, really just horrified that I might have this cricket on me. I literally run off into the locker room. My cheerleaders are like, what is going on? One of my cheerleaders runs in after me. I'm like hysterical, not because I'm embarrassed, but because the cricket was in my pants. One of the cheerleaders had to go and fetch my lost bloomers in the crowd that had landed near my science teacher, which was probably really scarring for him. And my little cricket friend, I don't know where he went, but he traumatized me greatly. And it was the talk of school for a couple weeks after. Boys were having such a great time making fun of me, being like, oh my God, Kat, is there something in your bloomers? Oh my God. Or like pretending to throw something at me and saying that it was a cricket. It was not a great time in my life during that week. Thank God I had a very hunky, buff football boyfriend at the time that was threatening to beat anybody up that kept reminding me of this trauma. But there you have it. That was the most embarrassing moment I had in high school. As we all know, everybody forgets about things when something even more embarrassing happens. And there was a scandal at my school the week after that happened to me, and everybody forgot about it.
Scandal. This is a continuation of my last embarrassing story when the cricket attacked my bloomers and scarred me for life. This was sophomore year. I was dating these star basketball players slash golden child slash golden boy energy, shaggy haired blonde surfer gorgeousness. My first love, the longest relationship I had in high school. Lots of breakups and heartaches in between, but let's call him Dalton. Dalton was a mathlete, captain of the math squad, chess champion, star basketball player, Aquarius genius football player, could jump 5 times his height, was super sweet, polite, a joy to be around, and everybody's favorite. He drove a red sports convertible car, absolute lover boy, put me as a authorized card user on his American Express. He was honestly a dream. Yes, if you want the story time of that relationship, how we got together and why it didn't work out, I can definitely do that. We are post my horrific cricket trauma. If you don't know about this, go to my last story time. The boys in my class could not let it go. Many of them were my friends and they were just teasing me, but they were just endlessly making little cricket jokes, throwing little pieces of raisins and things at me, being like, oh my God, Kat. And it was honestly getting really old. And my sweet baby Dalton was playing damage control as the captain of the basketball and football team, was threatening to not let anybody start that was torturing me continuously. Within me and Dalton's perfect little bubble came Nadine. Who's Nadine, you ask? Well, she was in Dalton's grade. They were both a year older than me, so they were juniors when I was a sophomore. She had just transferred in from public school. She was living with her mother in Garland in a studio apartment with her hairdresser mother, who had suddenly got a windfall of luck when her mother became the newest lady of the house for a very rich, unmarried, elderly, childless commercial real estate man in Plano. Look at that, dreams do happen. So suddenly Nadine was at our school playing new little rich girl, coming from a public school that was really on the wrong side of the tracks, apparently. She immediately had this very bad girl energy, and I'm not saying in the bad girl energy like bad gal Riri. I'm talking like bad gal energy like she would cut a bitch. And she always had like 3 inches of black bleach blonde hair, very chipped nail polish all the time, secret pierced tongue, secret tattoos. I mean, she was grungy as hell, but now that looking back at it, like, I do respect that. She was new. She started hanging out with the artsy gothic girls, and Most of my little preppy, squeaky clean, beige wearing besties were not into her. Now, was she doing anything necessarily that we weren't doing? No, we were doing the same things, but you know what? We just hit it better. She was right open and out with it, which again, now as an adult, I respect it. Unbuttoned low shirt, super rolled up skirt, big combat Doc Marten boots. And she was always smoking behind the trash bins, just out in the open. Didn't give a fuck. She was very trashy hot, you know? Like, I get it. I got the appeal. And of course, all the preppy boys with their Jesus issues and wanting to rebel against their Brighton-wearing mommies took notice and definitely saw her as what she was. So did my sweet baby Dalton. And before him and I had gotten together, he and Nadine had gotten together in some wonderful, preppy, trashy love. And she also had hooked up with plenty of the other boys at our school. Again, no hate to her. Do you, boo? But her little romp with my Dalton was never serious. It was just like a one-time thing at a party. But next thing you know, old black-wearing eyeliner Nadine was obsessed with my man, and then him and I got together very shortly after. I don't know, this girl was probably in her closet making voodoo dolls out of me and stabbing them because I was starting to have back pain that year. She was definitely not a fan of me. But she was just like always lurking around, always like smoking in corners. Like anytime I would smell the faint smell of a cheap Marlboro, I just knew she was around the corner watching me have my sweet Pocahontas and John Smith romance. That is what people called us, by the way. So I would come out trolloping from my cheerleading practice, just all preppy high spirits and short skirts with my girlfriends, running to meet my star basketball player man, football player out on the field. And she'd be over there just chain smoking in the corner, just glaring at us. She would just go out of her way to be in my orbit and around us at all times. And honestly, it was getting old. So one day I'm sashaying down the hallway in my knee-high sheer white socks and my little Birkenstocks, arm in arm with my girlfriends. And we're just chatting and laughing back down the hallway. I'm on the outside, the two of them are on the inside. And Nadine and her artsy goth posse, they start walking by. The smell of gasoline and baby blood just emitting from them. And this girl, as she's passing me, straight up body checks me. And I go flying into my friends and I whip around and I'm about to attack her like a lineman or like a spider monkey jumping on the last coconut in the coconut tree. I don't know if they eat those, but as I turn around, she got saved. She got saved by Mrs. D. Yes, Mrs. D, the clap-having skirt police with her satin ruler and her angry glare, because she walked out and I was already on her shit list, so I decided not to try it. I turned back around fuming and plotting my revenge. Then that week, disaster hits as my football debacle, cricket meet cute, happens. And that's what everyone's talking about after that. Everyone's like, oh my God, did you hear about Kat and her cricket debacle? All that week I'm sitting paranoid, fidgeting in class, thinking that maybe that guy is still up my butt crack and just hiding in there waiting for a moment to attack. Then, alas, I guess that all that prayer that my mother had been doing at church for me, all the tongue speaking and holy water throwing, suddenly started working out, because then I started hearing rumors circulating. Rumors that Nadine had run across the hallway into the bathroom and was throwing up one day during class. I know you know where this is going. People were speculating that she had a situation. So at lunch, I'm sitting with Perry and the girls. I'm biting into my bagel, cream cheese, and ham sandwich, and Perry's over there eating like a 5-star spread bento box, star-shaped sashimi that her chef made. And Perry drops on me like, hey, did you hear about Nadine? She had a situation. She ran to the bathroom. We think that there might be a little baby Nadine coming along the way. And we're all like, oh my God. And then one of my cheerleaders goes, but wait, Kat, didn't Dalton and her have a little rendezvous? Cue teenage freak out and heart palpitations, and I think that I'm having an anxiety attack, or I might die, or maybe I'm having a stroke or an early heart attack because I suddenly cannot breathe. And then my sweet baby angel, Dalton, with his glowing halo hair, walks up and he's like, oh, hey, what's up, baby girl? I'm like, usually anytime he would say baby girl, like it sent me into a hormonal tizzy, but this time I was looking at him like, yeah, well, you're about to have a baby girl. He's just there casually eating his burrito. And I'm thinking, is my teenage dream boy about to be a baby daddy? I stand up and I grabbed his beautifully bicepped teenage arm and I dragged him to the hallway. I was like, Dalton, have you heard about Nadine? Your little scarlet letter secret? I'm like, could this be yours? And he's sitting there doing mental math, taking way too long for someone that's supposed to be a math genius. I'm like, okay, I'm the one struggling in math. Why are you taking so long, sir? He's there looking like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind, and I'm sitting there staring daggers at him like, boy, you better get your ones and twos quickly together and start remembering things post-haste because I'm about to suffer from early cardiac arrest. The next day, old Nadine doesn't show up. She's not there. Everyone's like, oh, maybe she had food poisoning, or maybe she has a 24-hour stomach flu. And everyone's just buzzing. People are starting to say like, oh yeah, I had noticed that she had gained some weight. Oh, I had noticed that she was like acting a little bit bitchier than usual. I'm like, bitchier than usual? How much bitchier can she be? But okay. Everyone is buzzing. All the boys that she had moments with, including Dalton, are basically sweating in their crisp pressed Brooks Brothers khakis, Ralph Lauren loafers, and Mont Blanc belts. A lot of sweaty leather items going on there. A lot of guys thinking about if they're going to get their trust fund after all. Nadine is gone for a whole week, the longest week of Dalton's life and my life. I was not ready to be a teenage stepmommy. And then word comes out, because obviously teenagers can't keep a secret, and the little artsy goths that she hung out with spilled the beans. I'm sitting in the back of Perry's white Rolls Royce as her driver Tobias listens in on our teenage gossip like always. Her and I eating sparkling grape juice and a cheese plate because that was her after school snack. I miss her. And she drops the news that it turns out Nadine isn't coming back because Perry, in addition to being a cheerleading prodigy, was also an art prodigy. So she was in art class with some of Nadine's art girls. They dropped the bomb to her that she was not coming back. It turns out that she had been seeing this drummer from her old public school on and off while she was there and when she had transferred. And it was his blood running through that baby's veins, and he was going to be playing bouncing daddy diapers for her. So crisis averted. Dalton was cleared. All the high school boys sweating in their leather sports cars could finally relax. Just like that, Nadine's scandal completely erased my cricket debacle. And yes, Nadine did become a teenage mom and kept the baby. Last I heard, her mother and that rich man actually ended up splitting up years ago. Nadine is now happily married with multiple children in Nebraska or someplace. And my sweet high school lover Dalton also has his own family as well. And him and I are actually okay terms. So, do y'all remember the soccer playing boys that we went to Tijuana with when me and my friend Cassie got traumatized at that live show, and those boys had to pay off the guards with a Petit Philippe so that our other friend didn't go to jail? Well, these are those boys again, because we spent a lot of time hanging out with them over the years while I was in school on the weekends and stuff, because they did go to another very, very wealthy school in a different adjoining area in Dallas. So not Plano where I grew up, but an area close by. If you need a refresher on that story, it is part 18 in my Rich Private Christian School Story series, so you can get a refresher course on my traumatization in the great, great country of Mexico. I was about 15 at the time, and the boys were older than me and my friend Cassie. They're about 17, 18, and they were having a end of the summer party. So I figured that this was an appropriate time to tell this story. So they had decided that they were going to have an end of the summer party to kick off the fact that they were about to go into their senior year, and they were having a luau theme. The party was happening at Aaron's house, and Aaron's father was a very prominent attorney in Dallas area. So he was buku loaded, and he lived within a gated community, within the gated community of their city, and their house was an entire huge ass property. Like, you went into the gated community, and then you had to go through a second gate, and then there was their big ass mansion, and they had like acres of just land out there. They had 2 swimming pools, a tennis courts, a golf course, and just a bunch of shit in their yard that was just great for hosting parties and everything. Aaron's parents also did a lot of entertaining, and so they actually had their own parking lot within their compound. So it made it very easy for Aaron to have parties. Aaron had decided he was going to have this party. His parents were going to be in Aspen on vacation, but I'm pretty sure they also gave him permission, because sometimes rich kids folks, they just don't give a shit what they do. So he had access to their chef, their entire staff, and the party planner. So you know this party was going to be a rager. It was their entire school of people, everyone that they knew, a lot of people from my school, because we knew so many people from their school, and we just knew that it was going to be on point. Luau themed, so they actually hired people to lay everybody and give everyone lays. At the time, I was kind of in a semi-love triangle with Aaron and Oliver. Oliver was the one that actually almost got arrested because he decided that he was going to mark his territory in Mexico, and they were like, "You cannot mark your territory, sir. Another American trying to take over." Aaron was so sexy. He was the hottest guy at their school, and he was just a bad boy, and he was the captain of the soccer team, and he was very good at arguing, which, you know, was such a turn on back in the day for some reason. He would come to my school, he would drive up, and he would pick me up in one of his many, many beautiful convertibles. He also had a Bentley with a driver, so sometimes he'd pick me up in that, and he had a motorcycle, so sometimes I would hop on the back of that, to my mother's horror, and also not to her knowledge. Aaron was hot, but Oliver was cute. Oliver was giving very Penn Badgley vibes, you know, but maybe slightly less cute. But he had such a sweet personality. He was such a gentleman. He was always like trying to do things for me. He would bring me flowers when I would see him, and the boys would make fun of him because they'd be like, "You're gay, sir." But he was just such a cutie, and he had a huge crush on me, but I was just kind of involved with Aaron. The thing was, is Aaron was a huge player. He had hooked up with many girls at his school, and everybody knew that I was like his girlfriend at the other school. And I was dating other guys too, so it wasn't a big deal, but a lot of the girls at their school lost their V card to Aaron. And that was just kind of a known fact because a lot of girls would be like, well, I want my first time to be great, so it's going to be with Aaron. So it's about August. I'm about to start my sophomore year, and the boys are about to start their senior year, and Aaron calls me up and he's like, all right, babe, I'm having a huge blowout party at my house for the end of summer, like you and Cassie, and bring all your girlfriends. I was like, okay, sir. He was like, it's a luau themed. I'm gonna send my mom's personal shopper to take you to go get an outfit for you and your friends because I want to make sure that you are the hottest girl there. I was like, say less. So me, Cassie, and two of our other girlfriends, including Klepto Kaylee, we end up going to the Neiman Marcus and Galleria, and those girls had money, so they didn't really care, but the personal shopper that was there, she actually picked up some cute stuff for us. And since it was a luau themed, we all wanted to kind of have different variations. So at first we were going to do bikini tops, but then I decided that I wanted to do like a sarong kind of tie thing. So we all got different colored scarves. I was wearing a pink one with flowers, and it was one that I just like tied into a shirt around. I also got a bathing suit that was like pink hibiscus to match so that I could change into it because I knew that they were going to have a pool party as well there. And then obviously on the bottom we knew that they were going to have grass skirts, and I think we got flip-flops and some little flower accessories to put in our hair. I got like some little flower clips, and we'd all planned on doing our hair in those. Remember those little hairdos that you would do like in the 2000s where you would like twist your hair like this and then you'd put the butterfly clips? We were doing that and then curling the bottoms of our hair and then using the flower clips. And then Klepto Kaylee had a blue sarong thing to tie around, and Cassie had a green one. The day of the party comes, we're super hyped, and Cassie drives us up in her dad's freaking Aston Martin because she was already 16. And the party is bumping, y'all. They have a huge water slide. They have a slip and slide that you can jump and like dive into. The two pools are decorated with all these huge flowers. There was a caterer. They had a literal pig on a spit roast, okay? Like his parents definitely knew because the stops were all out. Their school was a private school that wasn't Christian, and so their parents didn't really care what activities they did. So they had a bar, they had fire-breathing people, they had luau dancers. It was an entire thing. And apparently Aaron's dad gave him whatever he wanted because Aaron made good grades. He was captain of his soccer team, and he was slated to go to Vanderbilt the next year. So we walk in, we're immediately greeted with getting laid by the little lay girls, and then some little fruity cocktail drinks with, like, of course, a little umbrella in it. And we're like, okay, this is poppin', this is a vibe. There's like little bubble machines going everywhere. This was better than a wedding or anything that I could dream up for myself. We go, and they had also contests set up. So on top of the freaking slide, I just see someone yelling at the top going like, move peasants. And I look up, and freaking Aaron is standing up there, shirtless obviously, wearing this like spiky leafed sort of bottom lace skirt and this huge pineapple like king crown. I'm like, oh my god, this man. And he sees me walking in from like 20 feet away, and he was like, there she is, and he just dives, right, Free Willy style, off the freaking thing, belly down like a beautiful ripped seal onto the slide, goes down, pops back up, lands the fucking landing like a boss, and everyone's cheering. And he runs up, he scoops me up, he like twirls me around, he's like, there you are. And immediately, this was the most of his friends from his school that I'd ever seen. I had met a lot of them before, but also I knew that the girls at his school didn't really like me because of the fact that I was his like girl on the side at the other school. But we had made some friends with some of them, but there were definitely ones that were just like, who are these other private school girls, you know, that are also younger than most of us. And I see the girlies from the other school looking, and me and Cassie and Klepto Kaylee are like, okay, bet, time to show you girls what's up, right? He hugs me and he's like, come on, babes, like, let's go get drinks and stuff. So we go into the bar area and we get some drinks. Kids, again, do not do as I do. We're all vibing and it's just very fun. And at one point, Aaron is standing there just kind of like with his arm around me, and I clock Oliver from across the room. And he's standing with a girl. And I'm like, oh, I guess he brought a date. Cassie's like, who is that girl with Oliver? And I was like, I have no idea. And at this point, right, I had hooked up with Aaron, and Oliver and I had kissed, but everyone knew how Oliver felt about me, but everyone knew that Aaron and I were just kind of like together, but also not. So Oliver's looking at me, and he's got his arm around this other girl, and he's kind of looking at me like, how is she going to react? And I'm like, Like, you already know this teenage drama shit. So it gets dark outside, and they have a huge bonfire in the yard, and they're all just kind of dancing. The fire-breathing people and dancers are going, and everyone's just vibing, and there's like super loud music, obviously, a DJ. They also had a limbo contest, which I won because your girl has the spine of an actual cat. Aaron comes up to me, and he's got a water bottle, and he's like twirling it. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's lean, babe. And I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, it's great. It makes you feel like you've had multiple drinks without actually doing multiple drinks. So it's basically feeling like that with any of the calories. And I'm like, oh. And if you guys remember, this is what they do on Magic Mike. If you've ever seen that wonderful, cinematic, Oscar-winning movie, known for its story plot and its storyline, Magic Mike. He's like, yeah, girls, just, you guys take a swig. But we're all down, so we take a swig, and I kind of take 2 swigs, and Aaron's like, oh, that's enough, babe. Like, you don't want to take too much. I'm like, okay, I can handle it. I can handle it. He kisses me on the cheek, and he, like, runs away. We go down, and we're dancing on the dance floor, and I look over, and Oliver's on the dance floor with a girl. And he's, like, dancing with her and looking at me. It's very, like, teen movie. The girl is, like, glaring at me, right? Okay, he's like, does Oliver have a girlfriend now? I'm like, I literally have no idea. Like, he never told me anything. I have no idea, but, you know, it's not a big deal. So we're dancing with random people. There were some girls that go to their school that we were friends with that came over. We're all hanging out. At one point, we're on the dance floor, and a group of guys comes up, and they start dancing with all 3 of us, right? And for some reason, 2 of them just, like, end up sandwiching me. I'm like the bologna between 2 white bread, you know? I'm kind of like, okay, this is fun, whatever. I'm vibing, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling the effects of everything. And then I realize they're, like, really pushing and grinding on me. So I don't like it now at this point. I'm like, okay, get off of me now. Like, I'm done. Because I start feeling, like, very claustrophobic. And then finally, I feel someone grab my arms and just pull me out of the crowd and out from the dance floor and into the lawn area. And I look over, and it's Oliver. And he's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I just feel suddenly, like, really anxious. I'm kind of freaking out now. I don't feel very good. And he's looking at me, and he's like, have you taken anything? And I was like, no, I just had a little sip of Aaron's drink. And he's like, the lean? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, babe, you're going to be so messed up soon. And I'm like, I'm feeling it already. And he's like, okay, like, let's get you some water. Chill for a second. So we start walking. The way that the place was set up is you drive into the big ass mansion property. There's a huge compound. There's the parking lot here. The house is back here. So the party is basically happening in front of the house and around the back because the yard wraps all the way around. On the left side here is a huge greenhouse. On the right is their gym and then all the cars. So he starts taking me over here towards the greenhouse and to a little area that's less crowded so that I can get more air. And we're kind of like walking a little bit away from the party. And we can see the stars out. It's really pretty. And he's just like holding my hand and we're walking. And I'm like, oh, who's that girl that you're with? He's like, oh, her name is Megan or something. And I'm like, oh, is she your girlfriend? He's like, nah. I'm like, oh, do you want her to be? And he's like, would you care if she was? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, look, you know how I feel about you, but you like Aaron. And I was like, it's complicated. He's like, no, I get it. Aaron's hot, and I'm just like the cute friend. I'm like, you're really cute, though. He's like, right, but Aaron is the dude. Aaron's the man. All the girls want Aaron. I'm like, yeah, but you know. And we stop at this little area that's got seats and a fountain right next to the greenhouse. It's very cute. And we sit down, and he's like, look, you know how I feel about you, but I'm not going to just wait for you. And the fact that you and Aaron have a agreement where you guys are kind of together but you can see other people, like, that's just not how it would be for me. Like, I would want you to be my girlfriend because I actually really care about you. And I was like, that's so sweet. And he literally, guys, like a movie, okay? He's leaning over to kiss me. I'm looking at him, and then all of a sudden, on his face reflected, I just see red and blue lights. And I'm like, what the hell? And he goes, oh my God. We start hearing sirens, y'all. Coming down the street, we just see 2 cop cars speeding down, pulling into the driveway. And we're like, fuck. And he's like, come on. So we run. He's trying the greenhouse so that we can go in, but none of the doors are open. There's a doggy door, okay? Because this family had like a gang of collies, right? So he's like, do you think you could fit through there? I'm like, yeah. So I crawl into the doggy door. I unlock it from the inside. I let him in. So now, something about Aaron's mother. Aaron's mother, obviously a stay-at-home wife, very powerful attorney man. She was Miss Green Thumb. Her days were spent getting drunk in her greenhouse, so much so that there was a bar in her greenhouse filled with Chardonnay spritz. She had these like prized multicolored blue bonnets, because it's Texas, that she would always enter into like the little Texas festivals or whatever, and they would always win because she had some beautiful hybrids or whatever. Like, the woman thought she was a scientist. The same way that Katy Perry thought that she was an astronaut, this woman thought she was a scientist, because she had put colored dye on some flowers and then made them look different, right? And we're in there, and there's all these beautiful flowers everywhere, and we're hiding next to the potted plants. We just see teenagers running everywhere, running in the house, running all directions. And we're like, oh my God, freaking out. Because of course we are not of the age to do the adult activities that we were all doing here. Oliver was like, look, Aaron's dad knows like the police commissioner, like I'm sure it'll be fine, but like you and I should probably keep hiding in here. I'm like, absolutely. So we're sitting there and we're just kind of like staring at each other in the moonlight and like giggling. And all of a sudden, y'all, I just feel wrecked. And his face starts going like, and I'm like, oh no. And he's like, what? I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sick now. Like, I need to throw up. And he's like, wait, are you serious? I'm like, I need to throw up now. And he goes, okay, here. It's dark. We can barely see. He just grabs a pot and puts it in front of me. And I just Family Guy style projectile vomit into this pot. It's horrific. And he's like, it's the lean babe. I'm like, oh my God, never again. Basically, after I had gotten rid of everything inside of me, anything dark that plagued me and the shadows within were now expelled onto the earth, and I was feeling Kate Moss skinty, I lay down in Aaron's lap, and he was just kind of playing with my hair. We were kind of looking through the glass of the greenhouse and just looking at the stars and chatting. It was actually pretty romantic. And he's just playing with my hair, and at one point, I just pass out. So then, I am kind of opening up my eyes. Light is shining right here. And I'm like, oh my God. And my brain feels like someone has smashed it with a sledgehammer. Kind of open my eyes and I'm like looking around. And you know when you wake up after a long night and you're like, where am I? Right? And then you kind of have this panic where you're like, oh my God, but where am I? So I wake up, I look around and I'm like, I see flowers and I'm like, oh my God, am I outside? But then I see like pots and I'm like, oh my God, where am I? It's the morning, y'all. I look over and Aaron is passed out next to me on the ground next to the potted plant that has all of the horrors that were living inside of me. And I'm like, oh my God, what time is it? I grab his wrist because he was wearing this huge ass Rolex and I look and it is 6 a.m. the next day. And I'm like, oh my God. Now, thank goodness on Hell and High Water that I was not supposed to be at my house. I had told my mother that I was spending the night at Cassie's house, and so it's not like anyone was going to be looking for me from my house of Filipino pain, because that would have been very bad, but I knew that the girls were probably looking for me. So I'm shaking Oliver awake. I'm like, Oliver, wake up. And he's like, what? And I'm like, it's the morning. And he's like, oh, shit. And he's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I'm okay. We kind of stand up and I feel like I want to die. We look out the glass greenhouse and we just see it looks like Zombieland outside, y'all, but with a sprinkling of hibiscus flowers. It is absolutely wrecked in the yard everywhere and there's no one out there. So we walk out and I'm like feeling very unsteady. And so he's like, can you walk? And I'm like, I literally feel like I'm gonna fall down. He's like, I'm gonna carry you inside because obviously you are unsteady. And I, for some reason, lost my flip-flops at some point and there was like broken glass on the ground. So he's like, I'm gonna carry you. He picks me up princess style. We're walking across the yard and out of the back door comes like 3 guys, some housekeepers that are cleaning, and shirtless Aaron. He just walks out and he just sees the two of us. He sees Oliver carrying me. And the man looks like he might just charge at Oliver while I'm in his arms and knock him down and not care. And I'm like, oh no. But I wear contacts, and so one of them is like kind of blurry and dry and stuck to my eye. So I'm like kind of looking, I'm like, what? Oliver's like, uh-oh, Aaron's mad. I'm like, why? He's like, I don't know, probably because he couldn't find you all night and we were disappeared into the greenhouse. I'm like, we're not together though. And then Aaron walks out and he's like, oh, so I see where you guys ended up last night. Oliver's like, look, nothing happened. Like, we were just in the greenhouse because we hid from the cops. And he's like, well, why are you carrying her? And he's like, she got sick from the lean you gave her. And he's like, okay, well, give her to me. Like, I'll take her. And I'm like, I am not a sack of potatoes. But Oliver just hands me over to Aaron. Aaron picks me up like this. And he just turns and walks me into the house. I'm like, cool. I just got like transferred, like a bank deposit. Like, what the hell? But as he turns, Oliver's just looking at me like sadly and longingly. So I'm trying to mentally make the room stop spinning in my head as I'm grasping onto Aaron, and Aaron is carrying me up to his room. He lays me in his bed and he just gives me an orange juice and some Advil. Lays next to me and he's like, okay, so did anything happen between you and Oliver? And I'm like, and if anything did, like, why would you care? I'm like, we're not together. And he's like, I brought you here to be with me. If you were to hook up with my friend at my house when you're supposed to be my girl at my party, don't you think that's a little messed up? And I'm like, you had so many girls here. What are you talking about? Like, you had all these girls all over you, and there are girls from your school that hooked up with you. Like, I didn't think that you would care where I was. He's like, of course I care where you were. Like, I don't care about these other girls. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't know that. You make it very obvious that you have girls at your high school and girlfriends there, and you make it very obvious that you don't want to be in a relationship. And he's like, well, you don't act like you want to be in a relationship. I'm like, well, neither do you. And I'm like, did you get in trouble with the cops? And he's like, no, it's fine. My dad talked to them. Like, it's all good. I'm like, wow, must be nice. And I was like, well, where are Klepto, Kaylee, and Cassie? And he's like, oh, they're sleeping in another room. I'm like, okay, great. He's like, look, the chef is going to make some food, but do you want to sleep some more? I'm like, no, I want to go lay with the girls. He's like, okay, I'm going to go get them and bring them in here. So he goes and gets my friends and brings them in, and we're all laying in the bed and we're just kind of chatting and downloading. They're like, did you hook up with Oliver? I'm like, no. And Aaron's now making me feel like shit, as though like I had betrayed him. And they're like, well, that's weird that he's acting that way. I'm like, why? And they're like, because we saw him going upstairs with one of the girls from his school after you disappeared with Oliver. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, he was looking for you. And then someone was like, oh, I saw a cat go into the greenhouse with Oliver. And so then Aaron looked like he wanted to kill someone, grabbed the first girl next to him and dragged her upstairs. And I'm like, this motherfucker. We all go downstairs. The chef had made this huge spread of fruits and eggs and just omelets. And oh my God, it was looking amazing. And there were probably, I want to say, like 9 or 10 people there, girls and guys. And we're sitting there eating. So the way that the kitchen was set up is there was a huge island. Behind it was all the kitchen stuff. Fridge, stove, and all that. And there was a huge island that could seat maybe like 30 people. It was ginormous. And then there was a dining table over here. So there were girls sitting on this end, and then me and my girlfriends were sitting on the opposite end on the corner. 3 girls just staring at us. And there was a girl with like brown, really tight curls. And Kaylee goes, oh, that girl with the tight brown hair curls, that's the girl that Aaron hooked up with. And she's glaring at me. And I'm like, oh shit. And Aaron walks over, he just kisses me on the head and sits on the edge of my stool and just pulls me onto his lap. Kind of has his head like on my shoulder. And he's like looking at someone. And I think he's looking at the girl at first, but then I look over and I see he's looking at Oliver. And Oliver is standing next to the dining table on the other side, drinking an orange juice. And I'm like, Aaron, did you hook up with anyone last night? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, literally what I just said. You didn't hear me? Did you hook up with someone last night? And he's like, no, I was looking for you. I'm like, really? It's like, yeah, I told you. Like, I was waiting for you. I was looking for you, but then you were off with Oliver. I'm like, oh, so you didn't do anything with anyone last night? Nobody saw you going upstairs with a girl? Because if you did, you have every right to, but I just thought it was weird if you did that because you were just guilting me about being with Oliver. And he's like, I told you I didn't. And then my girl Kaylee's like, well, why were you with that girl over there, the one with the tight curls? I saw you go upstairs with her. And he's like, oh, Mandy? And he's like, no, I was just showing her the ping pong table room. And we're like, likely story, sir. Aaron's like, no, I was serious. Like, about I want to be with you. I'm like, whatever. We all eat breakfast. I go with the girls. We go back to their house. After that, Aaron and Oliver are both just blowing up my phone. Girls and I were in a lot of communication with them already, but the boys were just blowing up my phone even more. And then Aaron ends up being like, hey, my dad has front row seats for Mavericks game and I want you to come with me. And I'm like, well, I start school in a week, but like I can probably come. I'm thinking like maybe I should date this man. I'm not really sure, but I ask him, I'm like, look, if we're going to actually try and date, like for reals, I want us to be honest. And if you did hook up with that girl that night, I'd like for you to tell me. Like, I'm not going to be mad. I just want you to be honest with me about it. And he's like, I promise you I didn't. Which is why I hurt my feelings so much, because I waited for you. And he's like laying it on thick, y'all. Like, he's like, I can't believe with my own best friend Oliver and blah, blah, blah. Like, I know he's been in love with you from day one, but I just thought that was a little messed up. Oliver and I just still talking as friends, and he listened to me a lot, was just very sweet. But then, guys, day before the Mavs game, I'm over at Cassie's and Kaylee calls us and she's like, guys, you'll never guess what I just found out. I'm like, what? So I forgot to mention that the night of the party, Kaylee ended up hooking up with one of the other guys from the school, one of their friends, and he revealed to her that the brown-haired girl, Mandy, that Aaron supposedly didn't hook up with, but people saw him go up into the room with, that she was losing her mind because she had found out that she had contracted the herp and that she was blaming Aaron for it because they hooked up the night of the party. Now, I had hooked up with Aaron twice before that, but we always were safe because as a teenager during that time, I at least sometimes had my head about me. So we were always very safe, and I never ended up catching anything, thank God. Kaylee was like, oh my God, she did hook up with Aaron, and he has the herp. And he gave it to her. Did you know that he had that? And I was like, no. So then I went to my doctor, and my doctor was like, okay, you're good. And I was like, thank God. And I was just like, this mofo, A, didn't tell me he had this, B, slept with that girl and lied to me about it, and C, was trying to make me feel guilty about Oliver. I call him up and I'm like, listen, I'm going to give you a chance to tell me the truth about some things, but you need to tell me the truth now. Otherwise, like, we can't even be friends, but I'm definitely not going to date you. And I need you to tell me the truth on what happened that night at the party, because I know that something happened and you lied to me about it. And I want to give you the chance to, like, be a good man about it. And he goes, all right, fine. You're right. I did hook up with someone that night. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but I was just heartbroken over the fact that I thought I saw you with Oliver. And so, yes, I hooked up with Hannah in the shower. Hannah? Who's Hannah? Hannah is a redhead. What happened to Mandy with the brown hair? I heard that you hooked up with Mandy with the curly brown hair and that also you gave her the herp. And he's like, wait, what? And he's like, okay, I did hook up with Mandy also after Hannah, but it's because I was already messed up and I thought that she was Hannah in the dark. I'm like, boy, you gotta get your story straight. So, turns out that he had hooked up with 3 girls that night. He did not tell any of them, like me, that he had the herp. He had unprotected sex with all of them. This is why it's very, very important to always, always, always practice safe sex. Always. And to always be very upfront about your situation and what health things that you have. He gave it to all the girls. And this man ended up starting a actual horrible epidemic of this at his school. So yeah, I never dated him again. We did remain friends. I did have a slight little tryst with Oliver after. This is how I got out of attention that my rich boyfriend got me out of when I got in trouble at the spring fling, because I called Jesus a skinny legend. So as many of y'all know, I grew up in Dallas. I went to this rich ass private Christian school, but I was middle class. And there was a thing that we had our freshman and sophomore year, and it was called spring fling. It was basically a springtime dance that they had used as an excuse for all the young people to get together, boogie and dance and get dressed up, raise money for the booster clubs, and just let all the rich people flaunt their richness. So I was going with this boy that I was dating at the time named Chadley. We're going to call him that. And Chadley was one of those guys that was just incredibly into the one sport that he was into, which was soccer, and basically nothing else. He was like a big David Beckham fan. He loved all the big players. And it was like the thing he always wanted to talk about. And I was just like, I love that for you. So he asked me to the spring fling, and obviously the theme was flowers. Flowers for spring. Groundbreaking. And so they decorated the huge auditorium that we had with tons of flowers, these big archways. It was a bunch of like pinks and purples and whites and yellows, and it was just very, very gorgeous. And honestly, all of us just wanted to go and dance and get for Ricky. The dance comes around, and it was just not as big of a deal as homecoming and prom, obviously, because it was just like a mid-year random dance that we just had for the hell of it. But the theme of it was faith and flowers, because remember, y'all, I went to a private Christian school. So not only were there flowers, there was a lot of like Jesus paraphernalia and crosses and things like that, and things that made you scared, like Jesus bleeding and things that kids shouldn't be seeing. I'm not really sure why they show us that all the time. So we go, and I was wearing this super beautiful shell-topped dress that actually my mom had found thrifting and then like doctored it up. It was really cute. A lot of the dances, as you had seen in many of my other stories, my friends had got me or my dates got me, but my mom ended up making my dress, and it was a slay. It was like this big purple number. I was trying to find pictures of it, but I couldn't find any pictures of it. So I think they're all in Dallas, like in photo albums. So I'll try to find some when I'm in Dallas in December, but it was this shell top. And then she put all these beautiful flowers all over it. And then on the bottom, there was a little train of flowers that just kind of dragged on the ground. The best part was you could walk in and make the entrance in the dress, dragged gorgeous for the pictures. And then the train was detachable, so you could just remove it, kind of like a little bustle on the back, and just throw it off, and then you could dance. So Chadley was there in his little purpley tie number, and we were dancing on the dance floor, and some ratchet ass 2000s music is playing. We're getting busy. It's 50 Cent. It's really good. We're on the dance floor, and it was a very big known thing that you needed to leave room for Jesus, because you had to dance like this, because God forbid you press your bodies together and the boys, they get little peepees up. So we were dancing on the dance floor, and every time like people would start dancing too close to each other and like the girls would start grinding on the guys, one of the chaperones, the teacher chaperones, would come in blowing a whistle like, leave room for Jesus, leave room for Jesus. And it was great because a lot of times what you would do is you would basically form a circle around your friends and then you would take turns as couples, like dancing freaky in the middle, right? We're getting down underneath the big balloon arches and the flowers. And at one point, Chadley and I are getting down, y'all. And I could throw down, I could back it up. You know what I'm saying? Even as like a 14, 15-year-old. We're dancing and I see Miss Pendleton and she sees me. I see her across the room, across from the sea of people and across from the table that had all the calla lilies on it and the punch that was not spiked because God forbid we try to risk that business. It was like a thing where you needed to sneak in a little flask or whatever, and the cupcakes and things. And I see her head towering over and she's like locked eyes on me and she's like this. She's basically like giving me a warning, like, don't you do it. And I was like, yo, to my friends, I was like, Klepto Kaylee, other bitches, assemble. And they all just kind of like made a wall so that you couldn't be seen. And I just started backing my little booty up on old Chadley. And Chadley was a soccer player, so he was stretchy. So he had his leg up and he was kind of dancing. But what we did not account for was the science teacher who was behind and came from behind screaming and basically blowing the whistle on the fact that we needed to leave room for Jesus. This goes on all night. We're kind of dancing, but then there's at one point where there's like a slow dance song. And I want to say it was like Oasis, you know? And we're all just kind of slow dancing and they want us like this, but you know, everyone just wants to hug and be close. So I was kind of like leaning on him. He was a lot taller than me. He was like 6'2", sandy blonde hair, very cute braces and freckles. And I'm just kind of leaning on him. And I see the teachers were kind of a little bit more lax when it was slow dancing because I guess that they didn't realize that front to front is actually how babies are made. But they did come in there at some point and they were like, you guys need to separate. I was getting sick of this shit, right? Because as we know about this girly, our Sagittarius girl, she does not like to be told what to do. And the fact of the matter is they were really cramping on my style. I was just like, these people need to literally buzz off. And so at one point, my song came on, and I think it was like To the Window, to the Wall or something. And we're like, you know, skeeting down the balls. And I'm like on the ground, just like twerking. One of the teachers runs up, blowing her little whistle in her freaking plaid ass skirt, tuffly ass shirt, and her bob. And she's like, Miss Limkett, get away. Leave room for Jesus. And I go, you know what, Miss Pendleton? Jesus is a skinny legend, and he is very skinny. So actually, he fits right here. And she was like, are you talking back to me? I was like, also, the Holy Spirit is a ghost, and ghosts don't have any matter. So forgive me, but the Holy Ghost is also really skinny. And as I'm talking to her, I'm like being very expressive because I'm just like sick of it. We had, you know, a little flasky flask. Again, kids, don't do as I do. And I forgot one very pertinent detail. In chemistry, 2 weeks ago, one of the boys had brought a safety pin and told us that he had learned how to pierce from his older brother who was in tattooing and piercing school. And so he ended up piercing a few of us in our ears, belly buttons, whatever. And I already had my belly button pierced. I got it when I was 13. And so I was like, I'm going to get my tongue pierced because I've always wanted that. And so I let this boy pierce my tongue. And for 2 weeks, I had been hiding it. For some reason, on God's green earth, maybe because the power of Muhammad and Satan was coursing through my veins, it did not get infected. And I had this ball thing in, right? And I had been talking to my teachers like this, like, okay, blah, blah, blah. I'd been talking. I'd like learned how to talk with it. But because I was mad in the moment and had been having a little bit of that sauce, I was not paying attention. And then all of a sudden, she gets close to me and she's looking. And I was like, suddenly realized that I'd done fucked up. And she just reached over, grabs my tongue, and she goes, is that a piercing? No, I understand. This is a private school. You can't have that shit. And I was like, no. I pulled back my tongue in. She goes, you with me now. She grabs me. She drags me over in between the lockers outside the auditorium. And she's like, open your mouth now. And I just go, and she goes all the way open. I was like, and she's like, stick your tongue out. And she goes, take that out now. And I was like, no. I was like, do you know how long this took to get in there and to like make it look cool and to heal? Like, I look banging. And she's like, take it out of your mouth or I'm going to rip it out of your mouth for you. Now, obviously, guys, this was some time ago, so you can't do that shit now. But she grabbed my tongue because I said, no, ma'am. She grabbed my tongue. She literally stuck her finger and yanked it from the top and through the bottom. Now, because of the fact that this thing hadn't fully all the way closed and healed, but your tongue heals very fast. I don't know how, but she pulled it out, and dear God, it was one of the worst pains. I thought she had ripped my whole damn tongue out. I was like, oh my God, I screamed. And she was just like, okay, you're going to go. The nurse is here. We're going to grab her. She's going to stitch you up. And you, Missy, are suspended. I was like, you're going to suspend me for this? And she was like, no, I'm suspending you for this and because you don't leave room for Jesus. I was like, I have already explained the science of Jesus, lady, and why it makes no sense that I am not leaving room for him. Cut to. Now my mother is a nurse, as y'all know. My mom comes and picks me up from Chadley's house. Chadley's parents are fuming because they're like, I can't believe this woman has assaulted you. Not that like, I can't believe you have a tongue piercing because they're not my parents, but Chadley's dad was a big time Booster Club supporter and a big time investor in things. He was a stockbroker and a big time investor in all sorts of businesses. So he was like, don't worry, Kat, we're going to take care of this. She can't treat you like that, blah, blah, blah. You're not getting suspended. I'm like, okay. My mom comes and picks me up. She's obviously displeased with me. She's like, when in God's name did you get your tongue pierced? I'm like, I did it during 8th period. And she's like, yeah, that's not cool. Like, thank goodness that thing heals. But also I'm going to have to talk to them about yanking things out of students' mouths. She takes me home. I heal up. I'm like, yeah, apparently I'm suspended. My mom's like, yeah, that's not going to work out. So my mom gets on the phone with Chadley's parents. And again, the devil works hard. But the power of a Filipino mother and a rich white father together, you can do anything. The next day, I got to go back to school. I didn't get suspended. And the softball team, which was the team that Miss Pendleton, old tongue ripper outer, coached, they got a brand spanking new uniform set along with winter coats. And Miss Pendleton got a new plaque on her parking spot. And that, you guys, is the power of money and the Lord.
Let's talk about Klepto Kaylee. If you've been following my Rich Private Christian School series, then you know that Klepto Kaylee has been a major player in all of my stories. She was one of my very good friends growing up who had a knack for just having a Winona moment, not because she needed to, but because she was trying to rebel against the universe for giving her rich parents, I guess, and that was her way of making amends. Very good times with that girl. Unfortunately, we are not friends anymore. This is the story of what happened with her. So after graduating high school, I went to New York to model, and she actually went to SMU. If you know what SMU is, you know that it is a very rich, private Bible Belt university that is known for its partying. That's undercover, but it is just filled with lots of conservative Christian kids that just want to rebel against their Christian parents, party, and it's just quite bougie. While Klepto Kaylee was at SMU, she was studying linguistics. She was very, very into languages. The girl could speak like 12 languages. And while she was there, her freshman year, she met a guy that we're going to call Johnny. Johnny was in school to be a doctor, and he came from a long line of very, very rich and successful cardiologists, all from upstate New York. They met, and Johnny was the type of guy that was a little bit on the quieter side, very studious, but just like a very, very sweet guy, unproblematic, and it was actually really good for her because Kaylee is definitely like chaotic energy, and she was usually attracted to a little bit of a chaotic relationship. So a lot of us were happy that she was like dating this stable doctor who had money that could take care of her but also keep her in line a little bit, in the fact that he grounded her a lot. Her parents really did want her to finish school, get a degree, and actually be a little bit more self-sufficient. Right before Christmas break, freshman year for her, my first year in New York, her and Johnny were fighting a lot, and Johnny was like not sure why they were fighting. She would just start fights with him, and then he would end up having to apologize for something, and she was just very unregulated. And a lot of our friends were a little bit worried because we weren't really sure what was going on with her. So November before Christmas break, I get a call from Johnny, and he's like, hey, Kaylee is crashing out right now, and I don't know what to do. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, well, we've been fighting a lot, and I'm really worried about her drinking. I'm like, okay, like I'll talk to her, I'll see what's going on. In the background of the call, I hear her screaming, and she's like, no one understands me. No one gets me. I'm so misunderstood. I'm like, oh my God, hand her the phone. He hands her the phone. She's crying so hard trying to tell me what's going on, but I can't understand her. I'm like, babe, tell me what's going on. I'm like sitting in my little bunk bed in the model house, like hovering, trying to be like, girl, I can't hear you. You're sniffling. I love you. I want to help you, but I need you to take a breath so that I can actually hear what's happening. And she's like, no one understands me, and Johnny doesn't understand that I have deep emotions, and he doesn't know how to comfort me, and I just feel like I'm alone in this world. I'm like, babe, you're not alone. You have tons of friends. Your family's there. I love you. You have all your friends. Johnny is there. He loves you. Like, I'm going to see you over Christmas break, and we're going to figure out what's going on. Because she was like, I just wish you were here. Like, things would be better if you were here. I'm like, don't worry. I'm going to be there for Christmas break, and we're going to figure it out. So she hangs up, and I don't hear from them again until I actually get to Texas for Christmas break. It's December, I'm in town for Christmas break, and everyone is back together, all of our high school friends, and one of our other friends had a huge Christmas party that his parents was throwing, so we were all meeting up there to catch up. We all get to this party. It's at this huge ass mansion that his parents had just bought after he graduated high school because they needed to somehow get a bigger house even though they had less children in the house. I don't know, rich people logic. The house was like this beautiful gated house that had all these huge ass trees that were kind of covering the outside. It made it so that it looked almost like a Disney princess house that was like shrouded by trees. But then you went through the trees and the entryway and you just saw this huge like pillared house, brick laden. You walked in and it literally looked like the Schitt's Creek house at the beginning of the series that they lose. There was like tall archways inside, very, very high ceilings, huge chandeliers. When you walked in, there were 2 staircases that like led up, and then the Christmas tree was down below. There was like a couple of different rooms that they had dedicated to like the kids that were visiting, like all of us, and then the adults were kind of hanging out in their little area. And then there were just bars everywhere. There was like some activities for younger kids, like you could decorate Christmas cookies, and there was also an ornament station. And I was wearing this very cute black puffy sleeved dress. It was giving upscale Wednesday Addams. It had this high neck with this frill right here, big puffy sleeves, and then it was short and kind of flared out. And then I think I was wearing red heels with it for Christmas, a pop of color. Yes, I was wearing red heels, little pop of color with a bow on it. I walk in and I just see Kaylee standing underneath the Christmas tree arguing with Johnny. First thing that I see when I walk in. I'm like, oh no. She sees me as I walk in, she screams, she runs over, I like pick her up, we hug, we kiki, we're so happy to see each other. And Johnny looks like he has been through it. Kaylee was wearing this velour green dress that like dragged on the ground. It was so dramatic, I loved it. And she made him wear a matching hunter green tie. And his hair was slicked like this. She immediately grabs me and then a couple of our other friends and she drags us all upstairs to one of the empty bedrooms. And she is just absolutely inconsolable. As soon as we walk into the room and that door closes and we're all in there sitting on the bed with her, asking her what's going on, she just starts hysterically crying. And we're like, babe, what is going on? You know, Johnny is so sweet. He really loves you. What is happening? And she's like, no, he doesn't understand me. He doesn't understand the things that I need. He doesn't understand my emotions. And we're like, well, what is it that you need? What is it that he doesn't understand that you need? And she can't really give us a straight answer. We let her crash out and cry. And then we all end up going downstairs, having champagne and stuff. Johnny ends up asking to talk to me in private. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He pulls me over to the balcony and he's like, look, things are not working out with Kaylee. I'm like, what is happening? She says that you guys are fighting a lot. She says you don't understand her. What's actually going on? He goes, I don't know. I'm worried about her. Her drinking's out of control. She's been missing class and she just picks fights with me for no reason. He's like, I'll look at her and she'll just be like, why are you looking at me like that? And then start a fight. I literally try not to even say anything around her anymore because I'm worried I'm gonna upset her. And then if I don't say anything, she wonders why I'm being so quiet. She's always accusing me of cheating. I let her have all the passwords to my phone. She can get on my computer. I'm not cheating on her. I love her. I just want to take care of her, but I don't know what's wrong with her. I'm like, okay, don't worry. Like, you just keep being you. I'm gonna figure out what's going on. We both walk in out of the balcony, and once you walk in, you're walking into the kitchen area, and then there's an archway right here, and then there's the big ass tree. Kaylee is standing under the archway like this, looking at us. And I'm like, why is she looking like she wants to murder me? And then Johnny goes, uh-oh. I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, you'll see. She stomps over to us, and she goes, what were you guys doing? And I was like, oh, we were just on the balcony chatting. She's like, why? And I was like, girl, we were just chatting, no worries. Like, he was just telling me how much he loves you. And she was like, not from you, to me. I'm like, did you just tell me to shush? She looks at Johnny and she goes, are you hitting on my friend? And he was like, what? And she goes, do you like my friend? Do you like her? You do. You like her, don't you? You do. Why are you hitting on my model friend who's just in town, blah, blah, blah. She starts going off on him. People are looking. The adults are like, what is going on? I'm like, Kaylee, calm down. She's like, no, I'm not calming down. I'm like, babe, come onto the balcony. I drag her on the balcony. I'm like, John, you stand there. We're out there. And she just starts hysterically crying again. I'm like, babe, what is happening? Nothing's going on. Johnny was literally just showing concern for you. And he's making sure that everything's okay because he's saying that you haven't been going to class, that you're drinking a lot. And she's like, see, I told you, you don't understand me either. Nobody understands me. She storms off into the house. I'm like, oh my God. I go inside, I'm looking for her. The woman has vanished, like Cinderella. Like, I can't find her. I'm looking at my friends. We're like going through this huge ass maze of a house. We're calling her. No one knows where she is. John has also disappeared. I can't find this woman. The rest of Christmas break, I'm calling her. All of our friends are calling her. We can't find her. Johnny's also not answering his phone. I end up calling Kaylee's parents, and Kaylee's mom is like, hey, Kat, sorry, but Kaylee doesn't want to talk to any of you right now. I'm like, is she okay? She's like, yeah, she's fine. Don't worry about it. The rest of Christmas break goes. I go back to New York, and I haven't talked to her. I'm worried, but, you know, I'm doing my life and everything. A few months passed. I want to say this was like April now. I had just gotten off the subway from a shoot, and I was walking back to my place, and I get a call from one of our friends. And she's like, hey girl, I need to tell you something about Kaylee, and it's really messed up. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, you'll never believe what happened. Kaylee was at a frat party. She apparently wanted to leave. Nobody wanted to leave. She was gonna walk home, but then she couldn't figure out how to walk home. She ended up taking one of her friend's keys, getting into their car after she had had many adult drinks, drove her friend's car, crashed into a tree, left the car, and ran away. Literally like stopped in the middle of the street while people are passing me by like this. I'm like, oh my God, is she okay? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, where's the car? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call her mom. I call her mom and she's like, hey Kat. I'm like, hey, Mrs. Klepto Kaylee. I heard some news. And she's like, yes, you heard right. We are bringing Kaylee home now and we're going to make her go to rehab. I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, yep, so she's gonna not be able to be available for the foreseeable future. Let all of her friends know that she is not gonna have any contact with anyone and I will send out updates to you guys and you can update everyone. I'm like, all right, girl. Kaylee goes to rehab. None of us had talked to her still. I'm getting updates from her mom that she's doing well. She's apparently picked up drawing and she's making friends in the rehab center. Apparently she can't have visitors, and I'm also getting updates from Johnny. She's been in there now for like maybe a year or so and no one's been able to talk to her, but I've been getting regular updates from Johnny and her mother and keeping up and sending letters and getting letters back. We were doing this whole pen pal thing that was actually pretty cute, and I did feel like I was able to stay connected with my friend. It is now the next year and it is the following almost Christmas break, but now it is November and I'm still in New York. I am not going back home for Thanksgiving. I was just staying in New York and I was gonna have Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving with some friends there. And Kaylee lets me know, this is probably mid-November, that she is going to be in Manhattan with Johnny's family for Thanksgiving and she wants to see me. I'm like, oh my God, girl, I haven't seen you in like a year and a half. I would love to see you. She's out of rehab. Apparently she was doing really well. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see my girl. She lands the day before Thanksgiving. She's like, hey, come spend Thanksgiving tomorrow at Johnny's family's house. It'll be great. There's gonna be like a ton of catering. It's gonna be a big party. I'd love to see you there. I'm like, great. I get to his place. There is a door guy at the bottom of the level for the entire building that is just for this family's house. The door guy opens the door. You walk in immediately into an elevator. I look, I'm like, oh, what floor does the family live on? And the door guy's like, oh, they own the whole building. The whole building is their house. I'm like, oh. I'm like, what are all these levels? Why are there 4 levels? And he's like, well, the first level is the parking garage. The second level is the maid's quarters. The third level is the actual place where they live. And the 4th level is the rooftop. I'm like, damn, they are rich. We go to the 3rd level, doors open. Stunning. Decorated everywhere, floor to ceiling garlands, autumn colors. It looks like a cornucopia threw up in there, y'all, but rich people style. There's tons of people there, and Kaylee had actually sent me a screenshot of the invitation beforehand, and there was a dress code for this Thanksgiving. It was literally like, do not wear jeans or you'll be kicked out. So I was wearing cream-colored turtleneck and Dolce & Gabbana vintage slacks that I still have. They're so cute. A little velvet headband. I walk in immediately and greeted with a tray of champagne. Yes, please. I grab my champagne, I walk in, I'm looking for Kaylee. I hear a scream from across the nether regions of this huge-ass penthouse, and I see the girl running towards me. Now, all through school, from kindergarten to high school, and up until the year that I had seen her before, Kaylee had long, beautiful hair down to here and bangs. She looked like a cutie little Sailor Moon girl with her long ass hair, brown with highlights. The girl that screamed and was running towards me had a freaking, I'm not even lying, looked like a bowl cut that was brown. I was like, who is this girl cosplaying as Kaylee with a bowl cut? She runs towards me, jumps on top of me. It's Kaylee. She's wearing this white, floaty, Mew Mew looking thing that was very not her style, but I was like, okay. I'm like, babe, your hair. And she was like, oh yeah, do you like it? I'm like, it's a choice. We hug, we grab some champagne. I'm like, oh, where's Johnny? She's like, he's around here somewhere. She drags me over to one of the appetizer tables. There were 3 tables that had food all over. 3 huge ass tables, a vegetable table, protein table, and a carb table. Like, if there was a zombie apocalypse, we could have all been locked in that place and had enough food to last us a couple years. I was like, girl, this food looks great. She's like, let's grab some deviled eggs and then let's go stand on the balcony. I'm like, great. We grabbed like a little plate of some appetizers, some deviled eggs, some bacon wrapped dates, stuffed mushrooms. She grabs a bottle of Veuve champagne, 2 glasses, and we go sit on the balcony where nobody was. We're sitting out there. There's like 2 people standing out on the balcony, just like smoking cigarettes. I'm like, babe, tell me everything. And she just goes, I have news. I'm like, what's going on, babe? She goes, I'm a Buddhist now. I'm like, oh, okay. Of all the things, that's great. I mean, Buddhists are very peaceful. They love nature.
They believe in reincarnation. I think this is really good and grounding for you. She's like, yeah, you know, I just really feel like it really spoke to me. I met this like Buddhist woman when I was in rehab. Just feels like the right choice. I'm like, is that why you cut your hair? And she's like, yeah, I had shaved all my hair off a year ago and it's just been growing back. I'm like, girl, when did you shave your head? She's like, in rehab because I'm a Buddhist now. I'm like, well, you know, Buddhists don't necessarily shave their heads. Those are the monks. Like, are you a monk now? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, so we're catching up. It's great. You know, she had dropped out of school and now she was just living with her parents and then also going and visiting Johnny at school because he was still going there. And she was doing really well, it seemed. I'm like, you and Johnny are doing good. And she was like, oh, we're doing great. She's like, I love him so much. Like, he's been my rock. He's really been everything to me. I'm like, girl, I'm so happy. But while I'm sitting there, I'm realizing, wait, you just got out of rehab not too long ago. Should you be drinking? I'm like, babe, are you okay to drink? And she was like, oh, yeah, actually, like, I only drink on holidays, and it's totally fine. I have it completely under control. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, nobody told me this. Like, are you sure? And she's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the bathroom really quick. Do you want to stay out here? She's like, no, I'll come inside with you. I'm going to go talk to some people while you go to the bathroom. I'm like, great. She goes, and she's talking to some people. I'm looking for Johnny. I find him over next to the piano and he's just like sitting there with his little sister and she's playing. I'm like, Johnny. He's like, hey. We hug. I'm like, can I speak with you? He's like, yeah. We go to a corner. I'm like, Kaylee's drinking? And he was like, what? I'm like, Kaylee is drinking? Like, she was in rehab. And he's like, wait, no, she shouldn't be drinking. I'm like, she said that she can drink on holidays. He was like, Kat, he's like, there's been so much going on that I need to tell you about. I'm like, what happened? He looks around, he's like, just come with me really quick. I'm like, okay. So we walk into the kitchen and the pantry that they had was insane. It was like a double door and it was the size of my entire house. So he pulls me into the pantry and he's like, look, things are not good with Kaylee. I'm like, she just said that things were good and that she was doing really well. She said she's like a Buddhist now. And he was like, no. She actually has mental health issues and I'm worried and her parents don't believe me. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I truly believe that she's either bipolar or schizophrenic or something. She thinks that I'm trying to unalive her. I'm like, what are you talking about? He tells me that he has tried to break up with her multiple times, but she will not accept it. And so he didn't want to take her to Thanksgiving at his parents' house, but she had threatened to unalive herself if he didn't. So that's why she was there. And that she wasn't supposed to be drinking and that he really thought that she needed to get tested for some sort of mental illness. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm actually really scared and worried. I'm like, okay. So her parents aren't going to do anything. They don't think she should go back to rehab. And he's like, no, they don't want to deal with her anymore. He's like, I'm the only one that's being responsible for her. And I truly don't know what to do because I'm kind of worried for my safety. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, the night before they had gone to Manhattan, they were at his apartment at SMU and they got into a huge fight and she pulled out a freaking knife on him. I was like, oh my God, okay. He's like, you have to do something. You have to help me. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to figure this out. I'm going to go call her mom now. I walk over to the double doors. I open the double doors of the pantry. As soon as I open them up, I just feel someone's body get thrown on top of me and someone is literally choking me. I'm like, what the heck? I look over and all I see is crazy eyes and a bowl cut. Yes, Kaylee had attacked me. My dear friend was attacking me. I'm like pushing her face away from my face and Johnny pulls her off of me and she is feral, you guys. This is one of the most insane things I've ever seen in a human being happen before my eyes. Her eyes looked like she actually wanted to destroy me and she was screaming unintelligible words mixed with I knew it, I knew something was going on, she's going bananas. Staff runs in, people are like holding her down. I'm on the ground like, oh my God, what is going on? Like coughing because the woman has literally like tried to break my trachea. Johnny's parents come in, they're like, oh no. Johnny's mom is like, I told you this girl was an issue, like I'm not dealing with this. They end up putting Kaylee in a 5150 hold. They come and pick her ass up and take her to an institution. Johnny's parents send me with their driver back to my place, and I am shaken up, obviously, because this girl, I have grown up with her. I have known her since I was a child, and to see her go from this beautiful and vibrant and vivacious girl to literally trying to unalive me was very jarring. After that, I found out that she had gotten readmitted to rehab and diagnosed with schizophrenia and BPD. As for my mental health, I had to step away because she was also sending me some semi-threatening text messages and Instagram messages and DMs, still saying that apparently I was in love with Johnny and Johnny and I were having a secret affair and she knew it and she couldn't prove it. She was still saying this until a couple years ago. I love her from afar deeply. I will always have love for her.
I hope that she is getting the help that she needs, because I had heard that she had also had some relapses. So I love the girl. I will always have love for her. If you have friends that you've gone through this with or loved ones, it can be really hard to see them go through this. But sometimes you do have to step away for your own mental health and safety. So that is what I had to do. So that's what happened to my girl. And last I heard was she was actually living at home and doing a little bit better with her family. Johnny got married to a lovely girl, and they live in Connecticut now. They're both doctors. Wish that I was their child, because they're going to have wonderful little Dr. Nepo babies. But that is the update on our beautiful Kepto Kaylee. One of the worst fights that I've ever seen. Y'all wanted a fight story on a boyfriend in high school? Well, here it is. If you're new here, I went to a rich private Christian school in Dallas where I was middle class, surrounded by very extreme wealth. And this is one of the craziest fights that I'd ever seen that a boy that I was dating got into. Now, when I was about 16 or 17, I had started dating this guy named Sawyer. Sawyer was 19 and he lived on his own. He had been emancipated from his high school and from his household when he was 17 because he got sent into military school because he'd gotten a bunch of trouble for getting into fights in school. Well, imagine that. His parents were very rich and they were from Plano, where I grew up, but they had actually just cut him off from all finances. And so he was kind of doing odd jobs here and there, making money for most of the military, and was living on his own in a very sketchy area outside of where I grew up. In the apartment building that he lived in, there were stairs that led up, a balcony, and then the apartments that you could go into. His was over here. And then underneath the apartment, under the stairs, there was another apartment right here. So me and my girlfriends, little high schoolers, again, y'all do not do as I do, we would go to parties, very adult parties, at this apartment complex on the weekends. Sawyer would throw these big old raisers. It was a bunch of rich private Christian school students and rich kids from his school that were all partying in a very sketchy area where rich kids should not. So a lot of cars would get broken into this parking lot, like BMWs, Mercedes, like every now and then, but the rich kids didn't care because they were just like, whatever, I'll just charge it to my daddy or mommy's credit card. It'll be fine. So one night we're having a party there, and there was a guy that was living underneath Sawyer's apartment. So here's Sawyer's apartment. There was a guy living underneath here with his baby mama. They were young. They were 19 years old, and they had a 2-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter. And the wife was basically like 18. Like, they were just like young teen parents. And the guy that lived down there was a freaking creeper. Every time me and my girlies would walk up and down the stairs in our little Hollister skirts and our little like tube tops and stuff, he would always make comments. And the girls and I were always like, oh my God, he literally has a baby mama that lives with him. He is disgusting. One day, we're all upstairs partying. We end up going downstairs. Me and my 2 girlfriends wanted to go to the store and get some honey buns. And so we're in the middle of the party. I feel like it was like during the fall. We're going down the stairs, and the neighbor dude below, who we're going to call Jay, he is underneath smoking a cigarette with some friends, and we're walking down the stairs and skirts, and we're trying to hold our skirts down so that this freaking creeper and his friends can't see. And he just goes, ooh, I see some lips. And we were like, ew. And so I turned to him and I was like, yo, you should spend less time looking up high school girls' skirts and more time paying attention to your baby mama. Get out of our business. You're fucking disgusting. We go out. Me and my girlfriends jump into my friend's Aston Martin, her daddy's. We go to the 7-Eleven. We run in, we get our honey buns, we get Red Bulls, we drive back over to Sawyer's, and the party's still going on. We pull up. As soon as we pull up, I see standing outside of the doorway is Jay and his baby mama holding their newborn 1-year-old baby. The woman, his baby mama, is holding the baby girl. They're glaring at us. I'm like, oh God, what do they want now? We get out of the car. People are like hanging out. The door to Sawyer's apartment right here is open, and people are kind of like hanging out on the balcony and in the front, in the parking lot, and near Jay's apartment. It was kind of just like a spilling out all over party. Everyone's like having a good time and doing all the things. Music is playing. We walk out. I'm looking at her, and she just starts yelling at me in English and Spanish, basically saying like, I'm a punta, and like, me and my friends are little sluts, and I need to not talk to her man and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait. Your man is the one that has been hitting on us. And she's like, I know you want my man. I know you want my man. I'm like, girl, why would we want your man? Why would we want that disgusting man? Like, no one wants your man. I'm like, girl, you need to get a grip. You're a whole ass mom. Like, we aren't concerned with you. Like, literally get away from us. The stairs are right here. I'm walking up the stairs. As I'm walking up the stairs, and there's slats, this woman reaches up and grabs my ankle in between the stairs and tries to like pull me down to trip me on the stairs. I fall forward, but I catch myself, and now I'm pissed. I go down. This woman, baby on the hip, with her left hand, just starts swiping at me. Now, again, I am wearing my little Hollister skirt, my little tube top, flip-flops, which are not very stable, and I'm holding a bag of honey buns. I'm like, girl, what?
She is trying to literally fight me. I'm like, girl, get your shit together. Put your baby down. Like, what are you doing? I'm mad. She's like swinging at me, but I can't do anything. She's a freaking baby. Like, I can't be doing that. I take the honey bun bag and I just swing it at her. I hit her in the head without hitting the baby. And she like almost drops the baby. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, I need to like back up. So I'm just trying to evade her. My friends are also trying to like get her away from me. Her man is standing in the doorway laughing. I take a honey bun and I just chuck it at his head. I was like, you need to shut the hell up, right? Everyone has come outside now. Everyone has filtered out. All the teenagers and young 19, 20-year-olds have all filtered out and are watching what's going down. This woman with her hair in a high-ass top knot, oversized hoodie, shorts, flip-flops, baby in arm, yelling at me in Spanish. I'm like, what is going on here? I'm literally a teenager. I'm like, girl, you better get the hell away from me. I'm trying to like get out of her way. I turn at one point and my friends are on either side of me and they're also trying to like get her away. I turn, I kind of spin around, and when I do, baby in one hand grabs me by the hair, tries to pull me down, but when she pulls me down, my friends are also holding me. So they pull me back up so I don't get hurt. And I just shove past her because now I'm mad because the man is laughing. And I just start swinging at the guy with the honey bun thing. I swing at him and then he literally grabs me like this by the shoulders and just pushes me against the wall. I'm up against the wall, and before I can even react, I just feel someone pick me up out of the man's hands, lift me up, set me down, and then I look over and I just see Sawyer just going to town on this dude. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Me and my girlfriends are now underneath the stairway, huddled up, and Sawyer is just the shit out of this guy. His girlfriend, baby mama, is standing to the side screaming with the baby, and it is just teenage pandemonium, right? Everyone's like commotion. All of a sudden, dude below's friends are all jumping in, trying to grab Sawyer. Sawyer's guys are all filtering down. All these kids are fighting. These kids have nothing to lose. They've got daddy and mommy's credit cards and the power of indoctrination on their side. It is just Hollister flip-flops, Abercrombie shirts, and Von Dutch hats flying everywhere, right? My friends are like comforting me because that woman almost ripped my damn hair out and she's just screaming in the corner. At some point, somebody calls the cops. I don't know who, but somebody did. Probably one of the neighbors that was across the way, like one of the actual adults that lived in the complex, called the cops, and we hear the cop sirens coming from down the street. So the apartment complex is here, there's a big parking lot here, and then there's the street over here. So the cops are called, we can hear them coming. Everyone's running, right? Everyone either files into Sawyer's apartment, or the stairs are here and you could run down the hallway and there was a pool over here and you could kind of like run behind and then go to another parking lot. Me and my friends, since we're under here, we just take off underneath the hallway towards the pool, and we're hiding in the bushes behind the pool house. We're waiting, the cops come out, they run out, we can see them. They run into Jay's apartment down here. They're talking to them or whatever, and I didn't know what Jay did at the time, but you'll find out later. The cops are there, we're all hiding, and I want to say it was like maybe an hour, and then the cops end up leaving, they don't arrest anyone, everyone had run away or whatever, and I think they had just told everyone to keep it down. They leave. We end up going back up. I go up to Sawyer's place, and Sawyer's in there like a freaking war general, standing with his friends, talking shop, taking Jaeger shots, talking about what their next move is. And Sawyer's like, are you okay? Like, did you get hurt? I'm like, no, I'm fine. And he was like, yeah, that dude downstairs, I'm going to take care of him. I'm like, what are you going to do? And he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, you just stay up here with your girlfriends, put on a nice movie, enjoy the party. Like, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to handle business. And I'm like, I don't want you to do anything else. I'm like, I think that this just got a little bit too out of hand. I mean, that girl clearly should not be trying to come after me with her baby. And he's like, no, they're so annoying down there. They're always loud. I'm like, you're also loud too. And he's like, no, you don't understand. They're doing like some shady stuff down there, as if he wasn't doing shady stuff. And he's like, but he cannot disrespect you like that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, if you're going to go down there, I'm going to go down there too. And he's like, fine. So me, my two girlfriends, and a bunch of people from the party, we all go down there. We're standing there. Sawyer knocks on the door. The guy opens the door. He's standing there looking at him. One of his children is behind his leg. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. The woman is in the back somewhere, probably nursing the baby or something. They start having words, and Sawyer was a white boy that also spoke Spanish, but I think he just spoke Spanish because of the fact that he did well in school and then also just like lived in that neighborhood. So he was like fluent in Spanish. So they were like saying something back and forth. They're like, okay, great, great, great. It looks like they're just having like a very tame discussion over like respect or whatever. And I'm thinking like, great, it's done with that. The dude closes the door. Sawyer's like, all right, let's go. I'm like, where are we going? Sawyer leads me and his friends and a couple of the other girls and everyone that from the party that wanted to come down through where we were hiding from the cops, underneath where the pool was, into the back alley, back parking lot area. The parking lot, right? Here's the pool. We had walked from this way. Here's the parking lot. There's trees all around, and then there's dumpsters right here. Sawyer walks over here. Now, Sawyer was 6'1", very built, very buzz cut blonde hair, blue eyes, absolutely just giving Channing Tatum from Step Up vibes. He's wearing short cargo shorts, Doc Martens. He rips his shirt off to show his ripped ass body and his tattooed body at 19 years old. And he's like standing over with his friends. I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on here? The trash bin is over here. We're all sitting here. And then over comes good old Jay and his little posse. He comes over. He meets up with Sawyer. Now, Jay is probably like 5'9", not that built, just kind of like a skinny dude, dark hair, tan, and he rips his shirt off too, showing like a little bit of a teenage dad bod. I'm like, oh my God, they're actually gonna like get into it right now. They've scheduled this for some reason. Everyone's just kind of like, okay, let's go, let's go. Everyone's like around waiting for things to happen. Me and my girlfriends are huddled in the corner over here, like watching. Sawyer knows how to fight. He was in the military. So he's over here like holding his arms up, and old Jay Daddy runs over and just tries to get at him. He moves out of the way. They start tussling. It is going on for, I want to say like 10 minutes that they're kind of like tussling, going back and forth, hitting each other a little bit. And again, kids, don't do this at home. Please, please don't do this. Finally, Sawyer gets him on the ground. Jay is laying on his belly with his hands behind his back, and Sawyer has him next to the curb and the trash bins and is holding him behind his back, and he's got his knee on his back. And he's like, Kat, come over here. And I'm like, do I have to? And he's like, come over here, babe. I'm like, okay. I walk over, and he's like, apologize to her, to the guy. And he's like, screw you. And I'm like, oh my God. And Sawyer's like, apologize to her now. You should never put your hands on a woman, and you should never be creeping on her in the first place. You're a piece of shit. Like, apologize to her. The dude literally goes, no. Sawyer goes, okay. And I'm looking, and then two of Sawyer's friends walk over, and they just like pull me away, right? They pull me away gently. I'm like, what's going on here? They pull me away, and his two friends, who I was very good friends with, they have their arms around me. And I'm like, why are you guys like securing me? And then Sawyer just looks at Jay, and he goes, all right, dude, well, if you're not going to apologize to her, then you need to the curb. Yes, for reals, guys. Never do this. I am not promoting this. I am very against this. This is just something that I was witness to. Sawyer says this to the guy. The guy was like, no. And he goes, do it, or I'm going to do it for you. I'm over here like, wait, no. I'm like, Sawyer, no. I'm like, he's learned his lesson. Please don't do this. Like, please don't do this. Like, I really don't want to see this right now. And he's like, boys, take Kat and the girls away. I'm like, wait, Sawyer. The boys are like dragging me and the girls away. We're like, wait, no. My friend JP, who's one of his friends, who's this huge built dude that used to play football and ended up getting a full ride scholarship later to UT, grabs me and throws me over his shoulder. I'm like, wait. I literally, guys, just hear Sawyer go, do it now. His friend Preston, who's walking behind JP, puts his hands over my ears, and I just closed my eyes, and they carried us back to the party. Yes, you can imagine what happened. Well, I went to the party. I didn't want to hear about anything else. I was traumatized, me and my girlfriends. We were sitting there in the corner just like drinking our little fruity drinks like, we're just going to pretend that nothing happened, because that was actually crazy. The next day, we go home, and I was kind of feeling very scared because even though I really liked Sawyer, I did not realize that this was something that he was capable of. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to hang out with them again. But Sawyer did end up inviting me over at some point, and I went back over there with some girlfriends. This was probably like 5 or 6 days later. My girlfriends and I pull up to the parking lot in the Aston Martin. It was about 6 p.m. Here's the stairs, like I was saying. Here's Jay's apartment. Here's the front row where you can park, and then there was a middle section. We parked in the middle section. In the front, we see a big, black, unmarked van. We're like, what is that? We're about to get out of the car, and we just see the doors to the back of the van fly open, and no joke, a bunch of dudes in black, wearing helmets and tactical gear, jump out. They run out to Jay's. They're all huddled outside. Me and my girlfriends are like, are we about to witness something crazy right now? They're knocking on the door.
The door doesn't open. They break the door down and they run inside. Me and my girlfriends, as soon as we see that, we go in reverse, we drive the hell away. We call Sawyer and we're like, oh my God, don't go outside your door. He's like, why, what's going on? And we're like, I think the SWAT team is literally outside Jay's. And he was like, what? He's like, I gotta go. He hangs up. I don't hear from him for like 2 days. And then we find out from our friend JP, he calls and says that cops did get called to Jay's apartment because apparently him and his baby mama were cooking the old at the house and the SWAT team busted them. After that, I ended up talking to Sawyer on the phone and being like, hey, I think this is just a lot for my little private school ass. Like, I've seen some things, but I don't think I should be involved with you anymore. And he was very sweet and he agreed and he understood. Last I heard, he did end up having to go back to jail for some grand larceny or something. And we lost touch after that. But do not do as I do. I love you all. And just take my life as a cautionary tale. This time we're talking about Dalton's story. If you remember, I talked about Dalton in part 32 of this series. Go back and watch it if you didn't remember him. He was my shaggy-haired blonde lover boy that was captain of the football, basketball, and baseball team. He was absolutely gorgeous, originally from Wisconsin. He moved to my school his junior year, so my sophomore year. He originally had started dating like the bad girl that had also transferred that year. They broke up, and then he started dating me. Now, this is the story of how we met, our relationship timeline, and why it didn't work out. Hey, y'all been seeing me use this mirror app, and I just have to see the compatibility between me and Dalton. He was an Aquarius, and I am a Sagittarius, like most of you know. This mirror app is so accurate, you guys, and it says we're 96% two people who bring out the best in each other, creating something greater together. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry! So it gives you all your values and beliefs, so we're 96% there, which makes sense. Our love style is 94%. After every single part that it like breaks it up into, I love the final reflection. So basically, neither one completes the other, but together they both expand and soften, held in a current neither tries to control. Oh, my high school sweetheart boy. So right after him and Nadine had broken up, the bad girl of the school, I was actually dating another boy at the time, but he and I had always kind of given each other's eyes, like we just like knew each other very well, and we were just very cutesy towards each other, always flirting, and he was always just so sweet. He would see me in the hallway, he'd come up, he would carry my books for me, he would always chat me up, and he was just one of those guys that truly, truly was like America's sweetheart. He had very good intentions. He came from a very good family. His family had moved from Wisconsin. They were working in the mining business over there, and then they moved over here, and his dad ended up working in computer tech here. And he lived in a cute, big-ass house, of course, in Plano, near where I grew up. And he was very rich and very, very sweet and truly was like my Chad Michael Murray. So Dalton was very good at math, and I was famously not good at math. I was just sitting in the middle of the hallway during my break, cross-legged in my little cheer skirt, and I was about to go to practice. But the way that the hallway worked was there was the long hallway, all of the lockers were on this side, and then I was sitting up against the wall over here. His class was right here, so he had gotten out, and he had seen me right there. And he was like, oh, hey, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm working on this algebra homework. And he was like, it doesn't look like you're doing very well. And I was like, I am terrible at math. So he sat on the ground with me and he just kind of like went through everything. His cute little shaggy blonde hair just like peeking over his eye, teaching me how to do things. Right angles, division, 94-degree triangles, clovers. I don't know. Clearly not a math girl. Don't even know what algebra studies. After that, he had started helping me a lot, and I ended up breaking up with the guy that I was dating because I was just like kind of bored with him anyways. And so Dalton and I were both single, but we weren't really addressing our feelings at that point. We were just kind of flirting. He would come out of class and walk me, and then every day that I would get out of cheer practice, I would go with the other girls to watch them practice, and he would always be there smiling at me, and then he would sometimes take me home. I was eating candy earlier, that's why my tongue is blue. So he was, at the time, driving a BMW sports car, 2 doors, that was bright ass red. That was a convertible. So I loved going in the car with him, and I was actually on his way. So he would pop me in his little car. We'd drive down, blasting Nelly, Neo, whoever it was, and he would take me home and drop me off. But we never kissed. We never said anything about liking each other. And then now it was probably February of my sophomore year. Now his birthday's in February, as we showed. He is an Aquarius. He's a big Aquarius energy. He's so intelligent, so friendly, well-loved, and he was having a big party at his house for his birthday. This was his 17th birthday since he was a junior. Now, he was an only child and he was super into sports, especially football, especially the Packers. So he decided to have a Packer-themed birthday party at his place. His house was sitting on a big green golf course. So when you exited his house, there was the backyard, there was a tiny fence, and then that tiny fence led to the golf course. So we're all out there hanging out by the pool in the hot tub. Everything is yellow and green and gold and everything, Packers colors. And me and my girlfriend are sitting on the edge of the pool, just like kind of chatting. It's cold out because it's Texas. So I'm bundled up in this like Packers blanket that's actually kind of tiny, so I'm a little bit cold. I'm looking at Dalton all night and he's looking at me and we're just kind of giving each other eye. And my girlfriend is like, is he gonna like come up? Like, when are you guys gonna start going out? I'm like, I don't know. He ends up coming up to me. I'm wearing a little tight Hollister skirt, denim, Ugg boots, and a Hollister like pink button up and that tiny little blanket. He's wearing his big Letterman jacket and jeans and these big combat boots. And he takes off his Letterman jacket and just like puts it over my shoulders and he has like a little sweater underneath. And he's like, hey, Polka, take a walk with me. My nickname in high school was Polka because I had really long Pocahontas looking hair. And later on, everyone would call us Polka and John Smith because he was blonde and we definitely looked like that couple. So I get up and he just grabs my hand and he like leads me out the little back gate onto the driveway and onto the golf course. And we just kind of start walking down the green. He's looking at me and I'm looking at him. And I'm like, so do you have a good birthday? And he was like, yeah, it's better now. And I'm like, oh yeah, why is that? And he just spins me around and he was like, because I get to spend it with the prettiest girl in the school. And then he kissed me. I know. Aw, kiss me. I need the rope in my way. Whatever the words are. Yes, that was playing in the background. It was honestly so romantic. I was like, did my leg pop? Probably. But from that moment then, we were the couple. From that point on, we had a very good routine. Every day after class, after school, I would go to practice and then he would go to practice. I would get out of cheerleading, he would get out of football or basketball, what it was at the season, and then he would take me out. We would go get an after-school snack, usually at either Sonic, Chick-fil-A, Fat Straws, one of those places that were nearby, and he would use his little American Express Platinum card, and then he would drop me off at home. I would do my homework, have dinner or whatever, and then in the evenings, he and I would just like text until I would go to bed. That was kind of our go-to, and then the summer came and we spent the entire summer together. He would just drive me around. We'd go to the pool, we'd go play sports, we'd go play volleyball. I ended up going on a cute vacation with him and his family to Mexico. We had a great time. The next school year came around and it was my junior year and his senior year. But that year, we had a new transfer student to the school. She was a little freshman girl, and we're going to call her Gwen. And Gwen had the eye on my dear, sweet Dalton. Now, all the girls had a crush on Dalton, but I was very known at my school, and so no one was going to mess with my Dalton because I was there and I was his girl, and we were kind of the it couple. So this girl came in, and she ended up auditioning for the cheer squad. I was on the varsity team and she ended up making the JV team, but the varsity team a lot of times coached and helped out with the JV team, and since I was captain of the varsity team, I would always go and help. She was immediately hated me. I mean, the girl had it out for me. Every time I'd be talking, she would just start cackling in the middle of what I was saying. She would kind of ignore what I was saying. And then I would always have to just keep reaffirming my authority over her, being like, hey girl, you as a freshman, I'm a junior, I'm the captain, and you need to listen. Like, I'm a very nice girl and I was always very kind in high school, but I did not deal with disrespect and I still don't. But I was just like, if I'm talking to you and I'm trying to teach you something, you better listen. So not only was she after Dalton, she also lived 3 doors down from him. Very lucky. So apparently that's how she fell in love with him, is one day he was walking out shirtless. I swear to God, this is a teen movie, you guys. He was mowing his lawn and she saw him shirtless and was like, and then decided that she had her eye on him. So one day, I want to say this was like second month into school year, probably like September or October. One of our friends has a party at her ranch. Actually, my girlfriend, I told y'all about that, had the horses, the horse girl. She had a party on her ranch for her birthday where we all went out there. We spent the night. It was a bunch of our friends. There was probably like 40 of us, girls and guys. And we had drinks, we had food, we had a bunch of like catered, really good sushi, sandwiches. And the parents just like let us do whatever I wanted because they were all getting drunk inside the house and doing their own thing. So we're out there with the horses and stuff like that. So we are all outside in this big bonfire near the forest and just kind of telling ghost stories and making s'mores and drinking adult lemonade. Again, kids do not do as I do. And just having a good time. Homegirl, as usual, has been staring daggers all night, but I'm like, whatever. Anyways, it's time to go to bed, and I'm very, very sleepy, but Dalton and some of his friends that want to stay up and fuck around with the football on the field or something. So me and my girlfriends, we go to bed, and Dalton's like, I'm going to come soon to sleep next to you in the sleeping bags. Like, I'll be there. I'm like, great. We all go to sleep, and the next day, I wake up. We're sleeping on the patio in the middle of this ranch. So there was like the ranch, there was the main house. There was a big ass patio that led out to like the main area of the ranch and stables and everything. And we were all out here having our little bonfire. And then on the inside where the pillared patio was where we had set up all of our like cute little tents and stuff. So we're sleeping like semi outside. I'm laying there, I wake up, I see the sun shining, I'm looking out, and I see no Dalton next to me. I'm kind of looking at my friends, I'm looking around, I put my glasses on so I can see, and I'm like, oh, maybe he's like already got up, like I don't remember him coming to bed last night, where did he go? We all go inside, and we're all just kind of like in there, the parents are making breakfast, they're making a bunch of eggs and bacon, there's a big spread of fruit, and I'm like, where's Dalton? Where did anyone see him? And 2 of our guy friends are like, oh, no, we didn't see him, but at some point last night, we were all just shotgunning. in the field. And at some point, Gwen said she wanted to go to the bathroom and she was scared to go. And so she asked Dalton to walk her. And so he shone the light for her and was like making sure she could go pee like out in the woods, even though the walk back to the freaking camp wasn't that far. But they were like, yeah, she didn't want to walk back. And so he escorted her. I'm like, well, when did they come back? And they're like, we don't know. We went to bed. I'm like, are you joking me? I'm like looking for him. Where is this man? I'm like, whatever. I'm going to go take a shower and he better be back by the time I get back. I go and take a shower. I come back down and Dalton is there sitting at the kitchen counter eating some breakfast and I don't see Gwen. So as soon as I walk down, he sees me. He gets up. He's happy to see me. He runs up. He gives me a kiss. I'm like, hi. And he's like, hey. I'm like, where were you last night? He's like, oh, I helped Gwen go to the bathroom and then we walked back and came and slept next to you and she went to bed next to her friend and then that was it. I'm like, but I didn't hear you wake me up. I didn't like hear you come next to me. And he was like, yeah, I slept next to you all night. I was holding you. I'm like, well, at what time? And he's like, I don't know, like maybe an hour after you went to bed. And I just had this bad feeling, you guys. I was like, I don't know about that. Now, Dalton, I never would believe that he would have cheated on me. Like, he was just not that type. And I was just like, okay, like, I'll believe you, right? So we all do our thing. We have our party. We go back to school. 2 days after that, one of my girlfriends who's a freshman who is in Gwen's class, she ends up being like, hey, girl, I need to talk to you about something. I'm like, okay. She's like, look, I respect you a lot because you're older than me and you've always been good to me and, you know, you're my cheer captain and I have to tell you something that Gwen is spreading a rumor. I'm like, what is it? And she's like, yeah, she's saying that her and Dalton in the forest kissed and that she gave him a little job with her hand. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, I don't know if it's true or not. I don't think that Dalton would do that to you, but I'm just letting you know that she's telling people that. I'm like, oh, hell to the no. I walk out of the bathroom and I am looking for Dalton. I cannot find him. I'm like texting him in between class, like, where the hell are you? He finally texts me back and he's like, oh, I'm just getting out of science class or whatever. So it was on the other side of the building. So I stormed my little ass. I was like, even if I'm late for class, whatever, I don't care. I walk over and he's like, what are you doing over here? Don't you have like art that's on the other side? I'm like, I don't give a shit. So I pull him over into an empty classroom. I shut the door. The door is here. There's a table here. And I shove him onto the table over here. And I am just in front of him with my hands on either side. I'm like, there's a rumor going around. And he's like, what is it? I'm like, that you and Gwen. And he's like, ugh. He's like, is she telling people that something happened? I'm like, yes, she is. And he's like, what is she saying? I tell him. And he's like, it's not true. He's like, look, something did happen. I didn't want to tell you because I was worried that she was going to say something, but this is actually what happened. So he proceeds to tell me that they went into the forest. She was like, can you turn around and just like protect me while I'm peeing so that no wild animals come? Like, you're on a freaking ranch in Plano. Like, who's going to come get you, girl? She's over there peeing. He's turning around. He's just like kind of looking around. And then he said that he didn't hear her anymore. And so he was like, are you done? Like with his back turned. And then he feels like hands around his waist. Now he was tall, like 6'1", and she's like 5 feet tall. So she puts her hands around his waist. He's like, what are you doing? He like moves her hands. He turns around and she's standing there and she just grabs his face and just plants one on him. He grabs her and pulls her down and he was like, what are you doing? And she's like, you know that I really like you and you should be with me and no one will ever know. Like, don't worry about it. And he's like, no, I'm with Kat. I cannot do this. I'm serious. And she says, if you don't kiss me, I'm going to tell everyone that you let me give you a job. And he was like, I don't care if you tell everyone, like, that's not what happened. And she's like, don't you think Kat's going to believe it? And he was like, no, she wouldn't. So apparently that's what happened. I believed him in that moment. Immediately, like, my gut was telling me that I should believe this man. I do feel like he was telling me the truth. Now, honestly, I could be wrong, but in that moment, I did believe him. The week kind of went on, and at some point, I was like, I need to confront this girl and actually be like, girl, what are you doing? So it was lunchtime and I see her kind of walking around outside of the hallway and I'm like, I need to go talk to her now. So I walk out into the hallway, and the way the hallway was set up after you walked out of the cafeteria is you walked out, all the lockers are right here, right across. And so she was standing where you could see her directly through the double doors. So everyone that was inside the cafeteria could see us. I walk up to her, she's getting something out of a locker and I'm like, yo. And she turns around and she's like, yes. I'm like, I need to talk to you. And she's like, what about? I'm like, I don't appreciate you, A, trying to finagle your way into my boyfriend's heart and his lips. And second of all, I don't appreciate you spreading rumors. And she was just like, your boyfriend is in love with me. She's like, he pushed himself on me. I don't even like him like that. But I just reciprocated because I felt bad for him because I know that he's unhappy with you. I'm like, girl, what delusion are you living on? She's like, if you really must know, I know about the mole on his back. And that's just because him and I had hooked up. I'm like, wait a minute. So he had a little mole freckle that was on the back of his back that was kind of shaped like a little moon. A lot of people knew about it just because, you know, the boys would change and stuff and be shirtless, but it was just like the way she said it that gave me a really bad idea. So from that point on, Dalton and I, we were kind of like rocky. I would pick fights with him. And then by the end of December, we had broken up because we had just been fighting too much and I just didn't trust him. And I just decided that I needed to figure out other things for myself. So I went off. I dated a lot of other people. I dated those boys that were from the other schools. I was dating the guy that stole cars. I was just dating all these random people. And Dalton and I would just see each other in the hallway. And I knew that he was getting ready to go to college the next year. So I was just telling myself, you know what, it was probably for the best because it wasn't going to work out anyways. It was probably near around March. And I had been dating people and Dalton had just been watching me longingly from the corners. Dalton is dating a girl that basically looks like mini Paris Hilton. She had really short blonde hair and she was from the public school nearby in Plano. And everybody kind of knew her as being like this girl that was very alternative and just kind of mean. At some point, we all end up going to the mall together, his friend group and my friend group. His girlfriend at the time, the blonde girl. We're gonna call her Paris because she looked like a mini Temu Paris. And then the guy that I was dating at the time, who was an older boy, I was dating Oliver at the time. Oliver was the one that went to the other school, the one that we actually had gone to Tijuana with, those adventures, those boys. I had basically given Oliver a chance at that point. So we all had gone to the mall that is very known in the area that teenagers hang out at. The girl is like glaring at me and just holding on to Dalton. And I'm like, girl, I am not with him right now. But Dalton and I knew that we still loved each other, but it was just like, what we're going to do about it, right? In the middle of the food court, there's all the tables right here, right? There's the places that you can eat on the outside, and then there's like little plants in between. The tables that we were sitting at were basically making this little inlet, and I was leaning up against one of the plants over here talking with all of my friends. We were just kind of laughing. And then Dalton and his friends and that Paris Hilton Temu girl were probably like 200 feet away. And we were all in the same group, but we were just kind of like existing near each other. I start laughing at something that Oliver says. I'm like, and then I just hear her across the corner go, and I had very long hair, right? And so I had like, I guess like tossed my hair. And so I look over at her and she is clearly mocking me. Like she's like, like this, and then like looking at me. And so then I just look at her and I go, hey, you want to say something to me? And she goes, what? Like as she's hanging on Dalton. I was like, yeah, bald girl, do you have something to say to me? She wasn't bald, y'all. And so she just takes her hand off Dalton and she starts walking towards me. Dalton grabs her by the hand and just spins her around. He's like, no, to her. And I'm like, no, let her go. Let her go. Like, what's she gonna do? And she looks at me, she's like, what are you gonna do, private school bitch? I was like, oh, just because I'm from the streets of Plano, like, does not mean that I will not throw down on you, girl, because this Plano princess, she will throw down. Like, she's over here, like, saying that she didn't also grow up in Plano, and just because she grew up in a public school that suddenly she was more hard-edged than me. Like, no, girl, I grew up in a very Christian household with a Filipino mother that took chanclas to my ass. Like, I can take your little white girl ass. We're yelling back and forth, and then Dalton is like, okay, we're leaving. So they all leave. They all bundle up into their cars. They take off. Our friends and I were like, let's go to Tinseltown. Let's go watch a movie after I'd calmed down. I go over and we get into Oliver's little blue ass Corvette and we're driving. And it was very known that Temu Paris had a pink two-door Infiniti. Like everyone knew she had this car. She was like Miss Little Pink. So we see zooming up the side of us, her pink car. And she rolls down the window and she just starts like flipping me off and yelling and stuff like that because she's driving and I guess Dalton was driving his own car. They hadn't driven together. I literally rolled down the window, guys. I look to my left. I see the open Frappuccino Starbucks that I had had earlier that day that had about this much foam and this much coffee in it. I just grabbed that thing and I just hurled it at her. And by some grace of God and my ancestors, it went directly into her car and just splashed everywhere, all over her. Thank God, y'all. Again, do not do as I do. I was just a chaotic fuck. She didn't crash or anything. She just kind of like pulled over and then was like screaming and yelling. We went and go see our movie. And then the next day at school, I see Dalton and he's standing at his locker and he's just looking very sad. I'm kind of standing with my friends in a group just looking at him and he ends up walking over and he just looks at me and he's like, hey, I need to give you something. I'm like, what is it? And he hands me this note and it was like, him and I used to always pass notes in class and we would always fold them in all these like little cute origami things, you know how kids used to do. And he had folded his in like a little heart and I was like, okay. And he was like, just open it and then like, let me know. I'm like, all right. So I take the note and I go into class with me. I was like in, I think Bible class or something, the next one. And I sit down and I open it up and I just look and it literally just says, can you meet me after practice in our old spot? So our old spot was the way that the big ass football field was shaped was like, you walked right out of the gym class. Here was the football field. Behind the football field over here, behind the bleachers, there was all the kind of equipment and stuff and like little like storage units. And then underneath the storage units, there was like a little bit of room. And him and I used to meet back there and like chat and make out and do stuff, right? So I'm like, oh, should I go meet him, you know? And my friends are like, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, obviously I got to go meet him, you know? Like, it's not like we're on bad terms. I get out of practice, he gets out of practice, and then I walk over there. I'm wearing my little school uniform, and I kind of walk down the stairs, and he's already down there. And the way it was is like you walk down the stairs, here's kind of like the back of the stadium, and then he was like in the dark near the equipment. So I'm down there, and he's wearing his Letterman jacket over his uniform, just like with his hands in his pockets and his like shaggy blonde hair that I loved so much. And he was looking so cute, guys. And he was just like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, what? And he was like, I miss you so much. And ever since we broke up, I just date girls, but I don't like any of them. Don't you miss me? And I was like, of course I miss you, but I didn't trust you after the whole thing. He's like, look, I know that everything got really messed up and everything got really terrible, but I truly, nothing ever happened. I would never cheat on you. Like, I believe you're the love of my life. Like, you know, me and this boy, we would go after hours and lay in the middle of the football field and look at the stars and talk about what we wanted to name our children. Like, it was that type of high school love. And he just was like, I still think that you will be the mother of my children. I love you. Like, I feel like we're meant for each other. Can we please give it another shot? And I was just like, of course. So then we kiss and do some stuff. And then we decided that that day we were going to be together. Poor Oliver. I went home and I called him up and I broke it up with him. He was just like, ugh, whatever. I feel like you just come to me whenever you need someone. I was like, I'm sorry, Oliver. So we break up and then me and Dalton get back together. We end up spending the rest of that year together, very, very happy. And I was figuring out what I was going to do my senior year. Now, here's the reason that everything fell apart. He had applied to a bunch of colleges and he actually had gotten some scholarships, A, for football, and then also for just being like really, really smart at math and stuff. He was like, yeah, I'm going to go to Texas Tech because it's close by, and then that way once you are out of high school, we can figure out what we want to do with our lives and everything. But his dream school was to go to Arizona. But he kept telling me that he didn't think he was going to get in there. And I was like, look, if you end up getting accepted to Arizona, you have to go there. And he was like, okay, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm like, okay. The end of the school year is coming. Everyone's like making their plans for their college, right? Again, I'm a junior and he's a senior. He is telling me that Texas schools are his only option, is what he keeps telling me. He is telling me that he did not get into Arizona. I'm like, okay, because you know that if you got into Arizona, I would break up with you if I had to so that you would go there. And he was like, yeah, but no, it's not going to happen. It didn't happen. We're all out at dinner one night. It's his family, my family, our other friend's family. We were eating at Benihana. We were just kind of like out for like a family outing. I don't even remember what the occasion was. I was wearing this black jumpsuit that was like a little square neck one. I think it was from Nordstrom's, and it was like long and like kind of had like these flowy pants. And I was wearing this little like black beanie thing. I don't know why that was the choice at the time. And a denim jacket. Dalton was wearing a little black button up because we used to always love to match. And I'm sitting right here. He's sitting next to me. His mother's sitting across. His mother and my mother are really good friends still. But his mother's a spitfire. His mother is like no shits given. She's like this smoking Wisconsin woman that just always speaks her mind. And we're all just kind of eating, and my mom's like, oh, are you excited about going to tech to Dalton? And Dalton's like, yeah, like I'm really excited. I'm so happy I'm going to still be next to Kat since she's got another year left. And Dalton's mom just goes, yeah, well, I think that he should be going to Arizona since that's his dream school, but he just wants to be next to his high school girlfriend. And y'all, the table goes silent. I'm like cutting into a piece of chicken, and I just like drop my utensils. And I look at him, and he just looks at me, and his mom was like, wait. You do know that, right? You do know that he got a full ride scholarship to Arizona for football, right? But he's not going to go because of you. I was like, Dalton, what? And he's like, Mom. He's like, I told you not to say anything. And she's like, well, I think Kat would want to know because she wants what's best for you. I'm like, of course I would want to know. The rest of dinner is awkward as hell. And Dalton's like, we need to talk about this later. I'm like, okay. We walk out of the restaurant. He comes over, opens the door for me. I get in. I'm like, drive us to the park. There was a park next to my house that we would always go and hang out at and canoodle. And so he drives us sort of to the park, and we park because it was like darker and there was like a lot of shade over it that could kind of hide you if you were doing teenage things. And it was like pitch black out there. So we're sitting there. I look at him and I'm like, is it true? Did you get into Arizona? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, but you don't want to go. And he's like, I cannot stand the idea of being far away from you for a whole year. until you graduate. I'm like, yeah, but I don't even know what I want to do. Like, I don't know if I want to go to college. And at this point, I'd already gotten scouted for modeling, but I was just like modeling locally and traveling a little bit between school. But I hadn't really fully decided that I was just going to move to New York. Like, I was still figuring out what I was going to do. So he was like, I can't stand the idea of like you being far away. And I was like, you need to think long term. Like, this is your dream school. You would regret it. And he was like, no, I would regret being near you. I'm like, no, you can't do that. So then we're sitting there, he's crying, I'm crying. We're just like going back and forth, back and forth. And I just looked at him, y'all, and I had to do one of the worst things that I ever had to do in my teenage years, which I was just like, I love you so much, but we're so young and you need to do what's best for you. So for your sake, I'm going to end the relationship and you have to go to Arizona. Like, you can't stay here for me. And he was just crying and he was just like, okay, like if that's how you feel. I'm like, it's absolutely how I feel. And if things end up that we find each other again, then we'll find each other again. But you cannot base your life on me. You have to base your life on what you want. Because it was his dream to go there. Like, he always wanted to. So he took me home. I literally threw myself onto my bed and I cried like for 7 hours. I was so sad. We ended up finishing out the school year, just obviously as friends and supporting each other as much as we could. And he ended up graduating. He got a full ride scholarship to Arizona. He went, he freaking killed it. Now he works in business. He does some sort of tech business software company thing. He has a beautiful daughter and a wife. And I have zero regrets on my decision, and I'm glad that I went and did my thing. I think that at such a young age, I realized that you can't ever make decisions based off of somebody else in your life, because my mom always lived like that. So my advice to anyone that follows me, don't ever move for a man, move for yourself if you ever want to, and vice versa for the boys too. Always make your decisions based on yourself, and if someone is meant to be with you, they'll find you. But that's what happened with my dear baby Dalton, and it is a time in my life that I don't regret because he was such a wonderful boyfriend and he really showed me what love was at such a young age. So that's the story of him, you guys.
The most unhinged way that we used to acquire adult beverages for our high school parties when we weren't just borrowing it from our parents. As many of you know, I went to a very privileged, rich private Christian school in Dallas where I was one of the middle class students feeling like I was a little orphan Annie, but here I was reaping the benefits of the rich life. So in high school, there was a term that we used that was called brew-throughs, or beer barns, and they were a concept that was created by, of course, a man, and they were basically these big ass barns that were in the middle of the outskirts of Dallas where you could drive your car through, and these beautiful bikini clad teenagers would come out and they would take your order and they would bring you margaritas, cases of beer, churros, smokes, tobacco chews, candy. It was basically like a 7-Eleven or a convenience store that was a drive-through on and serviced by girls that looked like they were working at Hooters. This was a concept that was very popular, obviously, amongst high schoolers because the boys all got fake IDs and then we would drive through and they would flirt with the waitresses and get beer or whatever it was that we were going to have at our parties. Again, kids, do not do as I do. These were all memories of the past, and do not be like me. I am not at all promoting or excusing this type of behavior. Let that be known to everyone. When this concept first opened up outside of Dallas, obviously we were all super excited, but not all of our friends were able to get good fakes. However, what we lacked in credentials, we made up for Braun in the very sexy, very hot and rich football players that we had at our disposal at our school, including my boyfriend at the time in high school, old good old Dalton. So we had a plan. One of our friends had a murdered out, completely dark tinted Escalade that his father had bought him for the sole purpose that this boy already had a Maserati and an Aston Martin and a lifted ass Jeep. But then he decided that for his birthday, he also wanted a Cadillac for the purposes of just being a party bus. Our friend had this murdered out black car. We had a plan. All the girls, we sat in the very, very back. There was 4 of us. We're sitting in the back, and I was wearing a little denim skirt, my uniform in high school, obviously, a little white crop like this one, and a Von Dutch hat. Yes, don't judge me. I know that they're canceled now. We roll up, and the boys were sitting in the front seats. Driving was one of our hottest football players. We're going to call him Craig. And then in the front seat next to him was my cutie baby Dalton. So we get there. It is a huge barn like this. On either side, inside the barn, there's all the products in here. You drive your car through, and the cute little teenage girls and their little short shorts and their tied up shirts walk out, wear their bikini tops, and they ask you for your order. They lean into your car like it's like Sonic and really giving you the full service. Then one of the girls goes back and she gets your inventory and everything like that. You usually pay with cash. The girls and I are in the back. Again, completely black on black windows. You cannot see us in there. They pull up. The boys are there wearing their muscly ass sleeveless shirts. And they're like, hey girls. And the girls are like, hi. And our driver had a very obviously fake ID. He's like, how you doing, gorgeous? She's like, hi. She's this blonde girl that's very cute, very Texas looking. He gives her the ID. She looks at him. She's like, Craig, you know that I can't serve you with this. And he was like, I just came to say hi to you. They start chatting and flirting. The car's here. The 3 girls that are servicing are here. Here's the back door. Me and my girlfriend opened the back door very silently because they're over there like cackling and stuff. And then he's playing the music like, oh, listen to this beat that I like. We open it very slowly and we had an assembly line. One girl was crouching in the doorway. I walk out. I grabbed a huge case of Miller Lite beer, hand it to her. She hands it to the girl on the inside, and the girl on the inside slides it under the seat. We got, I want to say, during that very first trip that we did, like 48 beers. We were having just a very casual little party. And I got 2 handles of boxed wine for our girlies that did not like beer. We are sneaking in there. We're turning. I hear the boys like starting to wrap it up because the girls are like, you know that we have other people and stuff that are coming. And also, mind you, we have to be quick because we know that there are people that are going to pull up soon right behind us. So we're like, okay, we got to hurry. I look over and I see this long stick of licorice rope, like those long ones, which I was a fiend for. And I was like, I'm getting that. I grab it. My girlfriends are like, get your ass in here. We got to go. I grab it. I pull it, y'all. As soon as I pull it inside, my girlfriend just shuts the door very, very quietly as the boys are laughing inside. We're still hiding in the back, so the girly pops that work there don't see us. I hear my baby Dalton go like, all right, girls, well, we'll see you next time. Thanks for the free candy, but maybe we'll come with a better fake next time that you guys will accept. And they're like, ha, ha, ha. We know that you guys just come and see us, but don't worry about it. Here's like a couple free monsters as well. They give them the free monsters. And as we're driving away, okay, I'm facing the back and I'm looking out the rear view. The rear view is only slightly tinted. I can see these 2 like men in their 30s pulling up in a truck, and I see them look down at next to like where the back door was. I look out the back door window and I see that my long ass licorice rope was caught in the door and had closed on it. I'm like, shit. I lock eyes with one of those men and I just look at him and I go, and the guy just laughs and he's like, whatever, you know what I mean? We drive off laughing, blasting some freaking Kenny Chesney because it is Texas, and we had our spoils of war for our party. This was a regular thing that we used to do to fund our parties. I don't know if these beer barns are still around, but honestly, we felt very smart for cheating the system this way. And if you were those sweet girls just doing your job that we had borrowed inventory for, I apologize in advance. And how I got my friend's older brothers out of a very intense speeding ticket in Dallas when I went to a rich private Christian school. So if you've been following my series, you will know that I had done a story time on a yacht party for my friend Skylar's 18th birthday party. I mean, he had these 2 older brothers that were 21 at the time that were Logan and Peter. Now, we're going to go back in time a little bit, and this is when me and Sky were about 12, 13. Logan and Peter were sophomores, and they had their driver's licenses. So they were driving us everywhere. These boys were rich. The twins ended up studying abroad in France and were just insanely good looking rich boys that went to the private rich Christian school that I went to in Dallas. And me, as a middle class person, was reaping all the benefits of hanging out with these people. So this was about 7th grade, and during the time is when the teacher started telling us that when girls needed to go to the bathroom, because they knew that our girls were starting to have their periods and everything, some even before, that we could raise our hand, simply ask to go to the bathroom. And if they looked at us and said, is it an emergency? And if we said, yes, and it is an emergency, I really need to go, there would be no questions asked, and we could go to the bathroom so that we could take care of business. Obviously, we were using this all the time to get out of classes, go to the bathroom and everything, because at our school, you couldn't just get up and go to the bathroom. You had to raise your hand, ask for permission, and God forbid that you have to piss yourself during Bible class, because you will hear the word of the Lord. Otherwise, you are going to sit there and pee yourself. Sometimes they just would not allow you to go to the bathroom. So Skylar's twin brothers were driving us all around to different parties and everything during that time. And one day on a weekend, we had left an event, someone's rollerblading birthday party, and Skylar's brother Peter had come to pick us up from there and was going to drop us all at home. He had a new Porsche Turbo Cayenne. Peter rolls up to the skating rink in his souped up white Turbo Cayenne with the red leather seats. Me, Skylar, and 2 of our other girlfriends jump in the car.
I had called shotgun, and so I was sitting in the front with Peter, and in the back was Skylar and two of our girlfriends. As we're driving down the highway, in Dallas, there's a ton of freeways, and then there's like little side streets next to the freeway so that you can get onto the ramps. So we're on one of the side streets, and it was very known in our neighborhood that a lot of times kids would see other nice cars on the side streets and end up racing. It's like 11 p.m. on a Saturday, and so all the kids are out in their nice ass cars in Dallas in the rich ass area. We're down there, and there was a BMW SUV that pulled up to the light next to us. I look over, and the dudes look over at us, and we see that they have a sticker of a rival school team to our rich private Christian school. It was another rich private Christian school that was a rival team to our football team. I look over and Peter's like, oh my God, that's so-and-so who plays on the football team for that school. And he's like, I hate that guy. And we're like, okay. He looks over at Skylar in the rearview mirror, and Skylar just looks at him and he's like, should we smoke him? And Skylar's like, hell yeah. We were all in the car. We're like, yeah, let's race them. The light turns green. The engines are running. The tires are screeching. Both cars go off. We're going head to head. We're passing other cars going around. It's 2 lanes, and we are like gunning it down the side street. At some point, I see the dude in the car that we're racing kind of look in his rearview mirror, and he starts to slow down immediately. Peter was like, wait, what happened? And then Skylar was like, who cares? Like, we won. Yay. We're going, and I see behind us that that car had turned off into a side street and had just turned. And Peter's like, oh, he gave up, pussy. As soon as he says that, we see red and blue lights in the rear view. Because y'all, in Texas where I grew up, it was known that cops would hide in bushes and in little side ramps and stuff. And then they would be standing there with their little meters trying to check for speed. And then they saw you going down and they would literally pop out of the bushes. We're driving. There's an empty field here, and then there's side streets here. As we're driving, the car that we were racing turned to the side street here. A cop literally came from underneath the overpass down the curb after he was hiding in the bushes, turned on his lights, and was going to pull us over. That side street was 40 miles per hour, y'all. We were going like 90. We were like, oh my God, oh no, oh no, oh no. Peter sees the lights, and he's like, fuck. I look back at Skylar, and Skylar realizes that his brother had come and picked us up from a party. So yes, he had been having some adult beverages. Again, kids do not do as I do, or as these people do in the stories do. We're like, oh, okay. So he's 16, he's driving, and he's had some liquids that he is not supposed to be having. We're about to get pulled over, and we're like, shit. We're all thinking, oh my God, we're completely fucked. He pulls over, and the officer get out of his car. He's walking over in his little sheriff's uniform. Peter unrolls the window, and he was like, hi, officer. The officer goes, do you know how fucking fast you kids were going? Peter goes, yeah, I do. I'm so sorry. It was an emergency. As soon as he said that, the cop was like, what kind of emergency is that? Because you better have a good excuse. I look over at the cop and I just go, officer, it was an emergency. And he goes, what? He looks down at me. I had put my legs up like this in my lap. And I go, officer, I'm bleeding in the seat. We're trying to get to a Walgreens. Everyone in the back is like, Peter's like, oh my God. The officer looks, and I go, seriously, it's an emergency. It's my first time, okay? It's my first time of the month, and I've never had this happen. Please don't embarrass me like this. He literally looks at Peter. Peter was like, it's true, officer. This is my little brother's friends. I was just picking them up from a friend's birthday, and apparently the little lady here, she started her adult lady time, so I'm just taking them to the nearest store so that they can get what she needs. I start waterworking, guys. Like, I was like, this is so embarrassing. My friends in the back were like, please, officer, please. Like, none of us had anything for her. We don't even know. Like, is there something you can do to help us? Literally, the officer looks at all of us and he goes, get her to a store right now. Peter was like, yes, officer. He goes, there's a Walgreens over there. If you take a right off of 75, right over there, you can go get her what you need. Good job. What a good brother you are. Peter's like, yes, officer. Yes, of course I will get her what she needs. The officer's like, all right, kids. And he looks at me and he goes, little lady, a heating pad and some Midol and you'll be right as rain. I have 2 daughters, so I know exactly what you're going through. I was like, thank you, officer. The officer literally salutes us, gets in his car. We stoically look ahead. We drive directly to the Walgreens. We all go inside the Walgreens. We walk around pretending to buy something. I think I probably got some sour worms, and everybody was like, that was some quick ass thinking. So yeah, sometimes wit actually does get you out of things and not just money in this case. When I say I went to a rich private Christian school area, this is what I mean.